During a hunt, a boar was angrily chasing a man. When the boar was finally caught, the man told his comrade named Rain that it was now up to him to finish the job. Using his axe, Rain hacked the boar in the back. Seeing that it caused some damage, Rain tried to hack the boar once more but was surprised when it grabbed the axe with its mouth. Taking advantage of the boar's defenseless back, Lars jumped and stabbed it. Enraged, the boar kicked Lars off. More people then started to appear, each launching their own attack. Finally, the boar was killed after Rain hammered his axe into the boar's head. After successfully defeating the boar, a woman smiled as she was sure that their victory would increase their rank to C. Having been able to defeat the boar with their teamwork, Lars teared up, reflecting on how far they had come over the past 3 years, and expressed his love for his teammates. However, Lars sensed some indifference from his party members. To his surprise, the woman told him that he was fired. She explained that they were aiming for the top and had to let Lars go in order to achieve it. Compared to the rest, Lars was considered a second-rate warrior even after 3 years, with the woman pointing out how Lars was only good at dodging and acting as a decoy. Lars was in shock as he received thanks from everyone for his service, all while they ignored the time they had spent together. Depressed, Lars went to the guild and told the receptionist that he wanted to change jobs, as he no longer saw himself as a warrior. After recounting his life as a warrior and how his party had abandoned him, Lars expected to receive sympathy but was instead confronted with the harsh truth about the world. When the woman asked Lars if he had already decided on his next job, Lars responded that he had not, as he was still searching for one. Before Lars could leave, the receptionist suggested that they check his job compatibility, as she was certain it might have changed over the past 3 years. Confused, Lars asked what job compatibility was. The receptionist reminded Lars of the aptitude test he should have taken when he joined the guild. However, the woman was shocked when Lars shook his head, indicating that he had never taken one. Realizing that Lars had never undergone his aptitude test, the receptionist hurriedly grabbed his hand and dragged him into a room. A man then entered and explained to Lars that they had somehow skipped giving him an aptitude test during his initial registration. Before instructing Lars to place his hands on the ball, the man reassured him that the result might reveal a different suitability besides being a warrior. As the ball slowly revealed the result, both the old man and the receptionist were shocked. They discovered that Lars was most suitable for magic, failing to assess this earlier. Lars looked very puzzled as he was told that he had the highest compatibility rank for magic. After taking the test, the guildmaster, along with the other staff, apologized to Lars for their incompetence and advised Lars to head to the Magic Guild immediately, and reassured Lars that he would inform the guild that he would be coming. Thanks to a clerical error 3 years ago, Lars had ended up registering as a warrior by mistake, never expecting that he had the capabilities of using magic from the beginning. Entering the Magic Guild, Lars was surprised at how huge the place was, comparing it to a church. A woman then greeted Lars, calling him the Platinum Boy. Blushing, Lars thought that the woman liked him. However, after introducing herself as the guild's priest and looking at Lars from head to toe, the woman expressed her disappointment, informing Lars that he was no platinum. Believing that there was some sort of mistake, the priest told Lars that they would just have to do a more thorough examination. Arriving at the training grounds, the priest instructed Lars to use his magic and shoot the dummies. Lars explained that he had never done magic before and might need a warm-up. The priest told Lars that he didn't have to warm up, since a beginner could also cast magic as long as they said the right words. Repeating how she doubted that Lars was a platinum, Lars felt a familiar pain after seeing the look the priest had given him. The priest then showed Lars how to cast a magic fireball by telling him to say the exact words she said. Following the priest's instructions, Lars said the incantation but was shocked to see that nothing was happening. Lars then sensed a sensation as though his blood was flowing out from his fingers. Wondering if he was losing power, all of a sudden Lars felt his hand burning. It was already too late for Lars to realize that he had cast a huge fireball, destroying not just the dummies but also the surrounding buildings. The priest was shocked at what she had witnessed and asked Lars what he had done. However, Lars also couldn't explain as he had only followed the priest's instructions. Still releasing huge fireballs, the priest asked Lars to turn down the strength of his spell. Although Lars had received an order to weaken his magic, he himself had no clue how to do it. Left with no other option, Lars pointed his arm towards the sky, releasing the fireball up above. The huge explosion caused the whole city to shake, removing the clouds from the sky in the process. When people noticed the commotion, they wondered if some explosion had happened. The priest then grabbed hold of Lars, telling him that he was the real deal after all. Witnessing Lars's raw power with just a beginner-level spell, the priest was sure that Lars was way above average. With Lars's powers, the priest was confident that he would become a great sage. Apologetic for the behavior she had displayed earlier, the priest then handed Lars a pen and paper, hoping that he would sign and join the Magic Guild. All of Lars's doubts disappeared after his display. Still feeling the warmth in his right hand, Lars believed that with his one ability, a new opportunity had opened up for him. Registering his name, Lars told the priest that he had no idea what a great sage and a platinum even were. After completing his registration, the priest then told Lars how she looked forward to working with him. When Lars was told to return to the guild after 3 days, he asked if there was still some paperwork he needed to fill out. The priest told Lars that he no longer had to fill out anything and that she would just introduce him to his mentor. A woman then entered the room and introduced herself as Tesla, Lars's new mentor. After introducing himself to Tesla, Lars thought that mages always worked alone and would never meet a mentor. The priest tells Tesla to change her behavior, as she would just confuse Lars. The priest then asks Tesla to warmly greet Lars. Feeling embarrassed, Tesla then asks Lars if he wanted to join her party, expressing how she needed Lars. The priest could not contain herself anymore and ended up bursting with laughter. Since new recruits needed someone to show them the ropes, the priest hoped that Lars would get along with Tesla. After Lars received the white cape, it meant that his registration was complete. After equipping Lars with the new cape, the priest then informs him that the mage's rank is divided, which is marked by the color of the cape. For S-ranked mages, they wear a black cape. For A rank, they wear red. For B, it is purple. For C, it is green. The D rank wears the blue cape. The E rank wears yellow, and lastly, the new recruit wears white. Since Tesla is wearing a black cape, it proves to other mages that her rank is the highest. Lars could not believe that such a tiny girl would have an S rank, the highest rank. Tesla asks Lars not to judge her by her appearance and that she is also very curious about Lars. When Tesla mentioned the huge fireball in the sky, she knew that it wasn't just a normal fireball. Tesla then bids farewell to Holly the priest and asks Lars to follow her. Lars was surprised when Tesla informed him that they would now be looking for a job. Looking at the board, Tesla jumped very high and grabbed a paper. Lars was shocked when Tesla chose to defeat a forest dragon for their first mission. Since Lars had just started in the Magic Guild, he asks Tesla if they could slow down and take on a more suitable quest. However, Tesla still chose to do the quest and reassured Lars that he would be fine. For the first lesson before they meet the client, Tesla asks Lars if he knows the magic system. When Lars responds that he has never heard of it, Tesla explains that it is the most important thing that all mages should know. Tesla then asks Lars to sit down and close his eyes, instructing him to be aware of the magic power inside him. Confused as to how he could be aware of his magic power, Lars was then told by Tesla to imagine his blood flowing through his body and focus on each individual cell afterward. When Lars mentioned how he could feel himself getting warm, Tesla thought that it was a good sign and instructed Lars to feel the warmth flowing through his entire body. As Lars struggled to control his magic, Tesla then informs Lars that she will put her hand on his back. Sensing how Lars had already gathered so much power inside him, Tesla then instructs Lars to imagine that he is sweating all of his energy out of his body. Following Tesla's instruction, Lars's actions allowed him to release a strong gust of wind, including his magic, making him feel much better. Tesla was very much impressed with Lars's power, as she did not expect that Lars would surpass her in terms of magic strength. Thinking that Tesla might be joking or trying to raise his spirits, Lars then tells Tesla that he felt so great and that his body felt much lighter. Tesla explained that in common cases, gathering so much power is supposed to make the user strong. However, in Lars's case, since he had so much magic, it made him weaker instead. Shocked, Lars asks Tesla if the reason why he had never gotten stronger after training every day was because he had too much magic. Tesla can't give a definite answer, but she leans toward the possibility that Lars's magic is the cause of him being so weak. Lars felt frustrated as he thought that he had wasted 3 years of his life becoming a warrior when he could have focused on becoming a mage. Tesla comforts Lars, informing him that it is not yet too late for him to learn, and that he can also use his experience when the time comes that he needs strength over his innate ability. With Lars's unique warrior training, Tesla believes that Lars would be more powerful than ever, and suggests that Lars believe in himself even more. Lars did not want to be betrayed by false hopes anymore, but after hearing Tesla's words, Lars couldn't help but believe in them and in himself. At the village of Tatya, Lars and Tesla met up with the client and learned more about the quest they were about to take. In addition to taking down the dragon, the client wished for Tesla and Lars to look for a party that had gone missing. The party that the client had sent to observe the dragon still hadn't returned. The client was in a hurry to protect the village's herb supply, so he requested the party's help behind the guild's back. When Tesla asks if the party has a name or rank so that they can be identified, Lars ends up spitting out his tea when the client mentions the salt wings. Before leaving, Tesla informs the client that looking for the party would cost him more money, which the client did not mind. Walking through the jungle, Lars explained to Tesla that the salt wings were his former party that had kicked him out. As Tesla questions Lars about his old party, especially the girls, she then summons a golem that has the form of a wolf. Lars couldn't help but be amazed by the golem. Tesla explains that her golem can sniff out any scent of makeup that Lars's former teammates usually wear. With the golem moving forward, Tesla believes that her golem has already located the salt wings. After following Tesla and the golem, Lars ended up exhausting himself. Tesla then apologizes as she forgot to teach Lars magic to strengthen his body. As Lars follows the instructions that Tesla is giving him, he slowly feels his body burning, but in a good way. When Tesla asks Lars to jump, he was surprised as he did not expect to jump so high and ended up landing on his back. Lars asks Tesla if she did anything, but Tesla responds that it was all Lars. Since it was Lars's first time, it was expected for his movements to be clumsy. Sensing a presence nearby, Lars warns Tesla. When the monster finally emerged from the trees, Lars was in shock at how huge the monster was. Based on the monster's size, Tesla estimates that the monster is around 1,000 years old. Now up against the monster that they are tasked to defeat, Lars becomes scared and suggests that they forget the dragon and just find the Saltwings instead. However, Tesla reminds Lars that it is their job to take on the dragon. Rendering the dragon unable to move further, Tesla chanted a spell called 7 Demon Summoning. With the dragon being held in place, Tesla then instructs Lars to summon a lightning bolt into her hand so that she can finish the dragon off. When Lars chanted the spell, he did not expect the spell to be so powerful that it ended up killing the dragon with one shot. Tesla praises Lars for doing a good job, expecting great things from her apprentice. While inspecting the corpse of the dragon, Tesla found out that the dragon was female. Curious, Lars asked what it meant if the dragon was female. Tesla points out that the dragon wouldn't have been alone, surviving for 1,000 years, meaning that it has a mate. Seeing another dragon fly up into the sky, Tesla then orders Lars to go after the dragon. However, Lars couldn't open his eyes since the strong wind caused by the dragon had lifted Tesla's skirt, showing her underwear. While following the male dragon, Tesla informs Lars that male dragons are weaker than female dragons. However, male dragons make up for it with their perceptiveness, making them tricky to defeat. Seeing Lars's face all red, Tesla asks him if he is okay. Lars responds that he is just not used to his new life yet. Though Lars helped defeat a female dragon, he still could not believe that he is capable of using magic. Seeing that the dragon is still not coming down, Tesla assumes that the dragon is preventing them from finding its den. Tesla tells Lars that if his former teammates caught sight of the treasure and entered the den, it would put them in a dangerous situation. Knowing his former teammates, Lars is confident that they've already gotten in. After getting licked by Tesla's golem, Lars is asked by Tesla why he is so worked up. The golem then hurriedly leaves, making Tesla believe that it has found the Saltwings. Finally locating the dragon's den, Tesla wonders if they will find treasure or the corpses of the Saltwings lined up in a row. Tesla uses a magic spell that emits light. Believing it to be a spell that imitates a torch, Lars tries to copy Tesla. However, Tesla stops Lars, reminding him that he still can't regulate the strength of his spells. Since the cave is very fragile, Lars's power may just cause the whole place to explode. While walking inside the cave, Tesla warns Lars to watch his step, and Lars almost falls into a pit. Seeing a rope, Tesla guesses that someone is already ahead of them. Using the rope, Tesla jumps and walks on it. The moment Lars tries following Tesla, he ends up slipping and is now grabbing onto the rope. Tesla then goes back, purposely stepping on Lars's face and leaving him to watch his step. Since Lars is unable to walk on the rope, Tesla is left with no choice but to carry Lars. Embarrassed, Lars finally asks to be put down. Seeing a mountain of treasure, Tesla senses a presence and uses her magic to reveal the person hiding behind the rocks. Lars is surprised when he sees his former teammates. The Saltwings are also confused as to why Lars is in the dragon's den. Riru assumes that Lars entered the den with the intention of looking for the treasure. However, she is corrected by Tesla, who informs her that they came to defeat the dragon and that looking for them is their second priority. Rain and the other members of the Saltwings laugh at Tesla and Lars for attempting to defeat a dragon. Tesla does not care what the Saltwings think of them and suggests that they just follow so that they can get out of the cave. Riru thinks the whole situation is a joke, as she does not believe that Lars is capable of defeating the dragon, mocking him and ordering Lars around like they used to. As Lars is about to do what Riru asks, Tesla stops him and asks Lars if he is trying to throw away his life. Tesla then lectures Riru, asking if she thinks that sacrificing Lars is some sort of joke. Riru explains that a man should go first, but when Tesla points at Rain, they then respond that Rain is very important to their party. The Saltwings then continue to insult Lars, calling him useless. The Saltwings laugh at Lars and Tesla when Tesla tells them that Lars is currently the strongest inside the cave. Tesla agrees that Lars may have been the weakest as a warrior, but as a mage, he is the strongest. The Saltwings continue to insult Lars, even calling Tesla a liar, as they would never believe that Lars could be a mage. Lars has had enough of his former teammates' insults and tells them that they have never paid attention to him because of his rank. While Lars is letting his frustrations out, everyone is shocked when they see the dragon behind Lars. Tesla then tells Lars that this is his chance to take down the dragon on his own. Tesla instructs Lars that all he needs to do is power up and blast the dragon with the strongest fireball and lightning he can. Tesla suddenly grabs Lars's coat, apologizing to him for speaking for him in front of the others. Not expecting an apology from Tesla, Lars tells her that it is fine. Tesla encourages Lars by telling him that his experience as a warrior was not for nothing, and suggests that he show his former teammates who he is now. Following Tesla's advice, Lars calls the Saltwings, telling them to watch how he will deal with the dragon. After channeling his magic and focusing it on his right hand, Lars waits for the dragon to make a mistake. When the dragon tries to attack, Lars immediately moves away and punches the dragon right in the face with his fist full of magic. The Saltwings cannot believe what they have seen as they witness Lars knock the dragon down. With his newfound confidence, Lars plans to show everyone the strength of his magic. While dodging the dragon's attack, Lars wondered if what he was following was caused by a wind spirit, since he felt like he could blow away all the treasure with his power. When Lars finally got closer to the dragon, he landed a kick right at its face. However, he did not expect that the dragon would counterattack right away, and ended up getting swatted away by the dragon's tail. Lars was very grateful that he had learned how to strengthen his body, as he was sure that the dragon's attack would have shattered his bones to pieces. The Saltwings were in shock and amazed by Lars, wondering where he had learned how to fight. As Lars continued to evade the dragon's attacks, he became worried for Tesla, as she had almost gotten hit by one of the dragon's fireballs. When Lars asked Tesla why she did not dodge the attack, Tesla responded that she would not be doing anything to defend herself, leaving the task of defeating the dragon all to Lars. Shocked by Tesla's words, Lars also knew that Tesla was doing it for his benefit. As Lars continued to fight the dragon, he wondered what type of attack he could use since he couldn't use big spells. Lars then thought of an idea and charged right at the dragon. Since Lars was not allowed to use magic to blow the dragon away from the outside, he thought that he might be able to blow the dragon away from the inside instead. After getting closer to the dragon and landing an uppercut, Lars then used magic inside the dragon, killing it in an instant. Witnessing Lars's fight, Tesla thought that Lars's idea was smart. Lars then mentioned how he had remembered Tesla's words that he was not allowed to use too much power, which led him to use his magic inside the dragon. Tesla praised Lars for a job well done and informed him that he would be known among mages as the one and only Dragon Slayer. Embarrassed to wear such a title, Lars told Tesla that he still had a long way to go for him to have a title. Tesla was pleased with Lars's answer and suggested to Lars that they go back to the guild and start his training properly. Out of nowhere, Ruri came running towards Lars and pushed Tesla away. Ruri grabbed Lars's hand, telling him that he was welcome to rejoin their party, as she was confident that they would become an S rank with Lars in the party. Lars refused the offer, but Ruri insisted on Lars joining, informing him that he could now have a share of the cut and would no longer have to do their chores. Lars expressed how he no longer wanted to return to the Saltwings after how he was treated before. Lars's decision became clouded after Ruri tried to persuade him, offering him more than just treasure. However, Lars's decision remained the same and he pushed the ladies away. Aside from their looks, Lars informed Ruri and the others that they were the worst. Angered by Lars's words, Ruri then started to paint Lars as a bad guy after inviting him and having their offer rejected. Tesla did not want Lars to interact with the Saltwings anymore and informed him to stop talking with them and that they should retrieve their treasure. Rain then confronted Tesla, telling her that it was their treasure since they were in the dragon's den first. Tesla explained to Lars that even if they were the first ones to arrive, they still would not be able to touch the dragon's treasure since they were not the ones who defeated the dragon. Rain mentioned that he had never heard such a thing before and thought that he might have to use force to stop Tesla. A man then appeared from behind, pointing his blade at Tesla's neck. Seeing how the situation had already escalated, Ruri introduced their new member, Jekyll. Tesla told Rain that she too loved using force. Using her magic, Tesla was able to subdue both Jekyll and Rain by summoning hands from the ground. Picking up the knife that Jekyll was carrying, Tesla mentioned that she had never seen an assassin before and smelled poison on the knife. Lars finally realized that the people he was with before were the worst of the worst, as they would even kill someone to obtain treasure. Unable to contain his emotions, Lars laughed while tears ran down his face. Seeing how their plan had failed, Ruri and the others then tried to make a run for it. Unfortunately for them, Tesla had no plans of letting them get away. After subduing all the members of the Saltwings, Tesla asked Lars if he wanted payback for how he was treated before. Lars told Tesla that the Saltwings were just too pathetic and that he did not have the energy to even waste on them. Lars called himself stupid for trusting such people for so long. Tesla believed that trusting people was not stupid, as she explained that what had first interested her about Lars was his strong magic power, but now it was his ability to trust people. Getting involved with others frightened Tesla, but with Lars as her partner, Tesla did not mind. Riding a carriage back to town, the two were completely exhausted. Since they had obtained lots of treasure, Tesla told Lars that it was up to him how he spent his money. However, Tesla recommended that Lars buy some enchanted equipment like her rod, as such an item was necessary for controlling one's magic. Before falling asleep, Tesla lastly recommended to Lars that he purchase a house where he could rest and replenish his magic. Though a house was very expensive, hearing how Tesla called it their house, Lars couldn't help but be tempted to buy one. Arriving at the guild, Lars woke Tesla up and suggested that she change her clothes before going inside. Holly greeted the two and was surprised that they were somehow late. Lars explained that Tesla took some time changing her clothes. When Tesla handed over her clothes, Holly was shocked to see that all her capes were ruined. Lars took the blame for what had happened to Tesla's clothes, telling Holly that he was just a burden to Tesla. Holly had already heard about what happened on the quest and felt sorry for Lars's former teammates. After dealing with his former teammates, Lars was promised by the Adventurer's Guildmaster that he would be lenient with the Saltwings. For the reward for their mission, Holly informed Lars that the treasure they found was a sum of 400 million ruts. Lars turned pale as he did not expect the amount to be so huge. Tesla informed Lars that with his power, he would be able to make even more than what noble families had. Holly also believed in Lars's ability and was certain that he would surely reach the top very soon. Due to Lars's recent accomplishments, Holly congratulated him, as he was now promoted to rank E. After receiving a new robe, Lars felt that he did not deserve the promotion yet as he had just started. Seeing how modest Lars was, Tesla told him that it was also okay to be proud of his talents. Tesla also saw the benefit of being modest and timid, as people like that were known to live longer lives, while having too much confidence brought no reward. Understanding Tesla's point but still choosing to wear the white cape, Lars had finally gotten used to it and wished to fight using it. Realizing that they would not be able to change Lars's mind, Holly gave up and accepted his rejection of the promotion. When the two finally left the guild, Tesla noticed that Lars was very nervous. Lars explained that he was holding so much mithril that it was making him anxious. Since Lars had received a huge lump of money, Tesla suggested that they purchase an enchanted item. When Lars mentioned how relieved he was to finally have the money to buy a house, Tesla looked confused and asked why he wanted to purchase one. When Lars responded that it was Tesla who had told him to buy a house, Tesla ended up getting embarrassed, sensing that she may have said something she shouldn't have. Tesla then informed Lars that she would have to think more about the house, to which Lars simply agreed. On their way to purchase an enchanted item, Lars felt a bit uneasy about the area they were in and asked Tesla if she was sure there was a shop selling enchanted items nearby. When the two reached a dead end, Tesla used her staff and knocked on the floor. Out of nowhere, a staircase appeared. As the two walked down and entered the shop, Lars did not expect to see so many items inside. The two were then greeted by an old woman. As both Tesla and the old woman recognized each other, the old woman asked Tesla about Lars's identity. When the old woman assumed that Lars was Tesla's boyfriend, Tesla became embarrassed and informed the woman that Lars was her pupil. After Lars introduced himself, the old woman, in response, introduced herself as Rodri, the shop owner. Rodri laughed at how polite Lars was, since it was very rare for mages to be polite. After informing Rodri that she wanted to purchase an enchanted item for Lars, Tesla added that they needed an item that could handle very strong magic. Rodri became intrigued when Tesla mentioned that Lars's magic was far stronger than hers. Rodri showed the two a variety of items meant to control how one's magic power flows, and suggested that they examine the enchanted items very carefully. When Lars grabbed the items one by one, he felt something odd and told Rodri that the items did not seem to be controlling his magic power. When Tesla asked Rodri to show the moon ring, Rodri was surprised. However, Tesla believed that it was worth a shot to let Lars try the item out. While trying to figure out the other items, Rodri then approached Lars and instructed him to try the ring on. Lars panicked upon learning that the ring belonged to the first great sage. Seeing Lars doubt whether he was worthy of wearing the ring, Rodri tried to calm him down, as she believed that it was his time to try it on. The ring was said to be incredibly valuable and immensely powerful, as many mages had tried using it but could not handle its power. Lars remembered the story Holly had told him about the first sage, who overcame calamity and founded the Magic Guild. After putting the ring on, Lars felt incredible, as his power was swirling around him so calmly. Seeing the ring working compatibly with Lars, Rodri shed tears, as she had finally found someone who could use the first sage's relic. Tesla was no longer surprised that Lars could use the relic, as she had already witnessed firsthand that Lars's power was indeed platinum level. Upon learning that Lars was a platinum level, a level that only a few had reached, Rodri was sure that Lars would be a big help to the Magic Guild. Rodri held Lars's hand, hoping that he would stay devoted, as it would help him reach the level of the first sage with the help of the moon ring. Lars was very pleased to hear such compliments but did not expect the price to be so steep, as Rodri asked for 20 million ruts for the ring. Rodri laughed and explained that she normally wouldn't sell something like the First Sage's relic but was making an exception for Lars since he could actually use it. Rodri then grabbed an item she wanted Lars to have. Rodri hoped that Lars would take care of the magic egg, instructing him to give the egg some magic 3 times a day. Based on the quality of the magic the egg received, the type of creature that would be born would change. Receiving the magic egg, Lars was very eager to see the creature that would soon hatch. After purchasing the moon ring, Tesla then told Lars that it was now time for them to buy some clothes. Lars was confused as he thought that he still looked fine. However, Tesla pointed out that their outfits were already quite tattered. Lars was hesitant at first but was then swayed when Tesla grabbed his hand, telling him that she felt like going shopping. Lars felt pleased that Tesla held his hand, but was surprised when she suddenly dragged him into the middle of the street. After some time, the two had bought tons of things. However, Tesla still didn't think that it was enough and suggested to Lars that he think of what they were doing as strength training. Seeing Lars getting exhausted from carrying all of the items, Tesla suggested that they rest and get something to drink. With the two finally taking a break, Tesla brought up the topic of the house. She explained that it was normal for a party of mages to live together in order to recover their magic power. Since Tesla had always worked solo, she never had the chance to live in a house. When Lars offered for them to live together, he became a bit embarrassed and told Tesla that his offer sounded ridiculous. Since Lars's trial period was over, Tesla asked if Lars wished to form a party with her, allowing the two to live under the same roof. Lars was very happy, wanting Tesla to be his mentor forever. The day Lars acquired the moon ring, which allowed him to control his powers, signaled the beginning of his training with Tesla. In addition to learning the basics of using magic, Lars also learned about magic itself, famous mages, and magic history. After 1 month, Tesla took Lars to a location where there were lots of ruined buildings. Tesla explained that the place was the old Magic Guild training grounds. Lars felt very nervous as he noticed Tesla acting strangely. Tesla notified Lars that his real training would start today, but before they began, she informed Lars of a condition. Since Lars had only just awakened his powers, Tesla was sure that there were lots of things that Lars did not know about. Lars was speechless when Tesla asked him how he wanted to use his powers and whether he wanted to be a hero, or was even aiming to become a great sage. When Lars responded that he did not yet know what he wanted to become using his powers, Tesla understood but reminded Lars that what she asked of him was something that he would need to figure out. The reason why Tesla asked those questions was for Lars to understand the essence of a mage's existence, and she hoped that Lars would soon figure out what kind of mage he intended to become. In the old training grounds, Tesla had laid various traps from where they stood to the goal. One of Tesla's golems would be waiting for Lars at the end, which he would have to face and figure out how to defeat it. Lars, unfortunately, stepped on one of Tesla's traps, releasing an arrow that injured his face. Realizing that he would have to get serious during training, Lars then strengthened his body. Lars knew that his power was strong enough for him to lose focus, which Tesla also agreed with. Lars no longer wanted anything to stand in his way and wanted to give Tesla an answer that she would be satisfied with. The moment Lars took another step, he immediately activated a barrage of traps. Trying to avoid the arrows, Lars rolled over and hit the back of his head against a wall. Opening his eyes, Lars was surprised when a pillar was about to pin him down. Fortunately for Lars, he had enough time to avoid the pillar. Lars realized that his lack of fitness was one of the obstacles that he would have to work on, as he was already running out of breath even after strengthening his body. Using all that he had learned from his training, Lars tried calling forth a fire sword. Before Lars could get a hold of the sword, he was surprised when a trap suddenly activated, injuring him even more. Curious as to where the attack was coming from, Lars looked up and learned that the attack was coming from a floating object. After figuring out the source of the attack, Lars then jumped towards it, destroying it with his fire sword. Meanwhile, Tesla was waiting patiently for Lars to reach the goal of the training. With more pillars appearing and entrapping Lars in one place, he instantly destroyed the pillars with just his fire sword. When Lars heard a screeching sound, he was surprised to see the same object that he had destroyed earlier. Sensing danger, Lars jumped to the side, saving himself from another surprise attack. As Lars huddled and thought of ways to destroy the floating rods, he also realized that the rods started attacking him the moment he charged up his magic. After charging his fire sword even more, Lars realized that the flying rods were reacting to his sword after the flying rods launched another wave of attacks. Lars had finally figured out that it was not him that the flying rods were targeting, but rather the magic he was releasing. As Lars released his magic, he also followed the links back to the source and eventually figured out a strategy for defeating the flying rods. While deflecting the shards, Lars wondered if magic could even be used to detect other magic, and having that thought in mind interested him even more. Lars was very amazed and impressed at Tesla for being able to set up such intricate traps all on her own. After defeating the flying rods, Lars finally reached the goal of the training. However, he was a bit confused, as he remembered that Tesla had told him he would be facing one of her golems. Unbeknownst to Lars, the golem was buried underground. Fortunately, Lars was able to figure out where the golem was placed and dodged its surprise attack. Using a fireball, Lars destroyed the golem and immediately went to the source of the magic, cutting the traps off. After hitting Tesla's head, Lars realized that he had hurt Tesla and immediately apologized for it. Seeing the light of Lars's sword looking a lot closer to gold instead of the color of flames was proof of the purity of his magic. After Lars completed his training, Tesla once again asked him if he wanted to become a great sage. However, Tesla was surprised when Lars responded that he wasn't particularly leaning toward the goal of becoming a great sage. Lars's new goal was to encounter many different types of magic and mages. Lars understood that what he said was not the answer that Tesla wanted to hear, but after finishing the training, Lars had figured out what he wanted to become. Lars told Tesla upfront that he wanted to surpass her and all of the S-rank mages. Wanting to surpass all of the S-ranked mages, Tesla believed that it would also put Lars on par with a great sage. Somewhere on a barren land, a man asked a woman named Shale if they should take a rest. However, Shale told the two that she was fine and that they should have waited for reinforcements. Shale was in a hurry as she sensed something bad was about to happen and had to tell everyone. 10 days before Lars's true training, Tesla was teaching Lars how to manifest a fire sword, which Lars eventually succeeded in doing and used in his training. Praising Lars for casting the sword, Tesla then instructed Lars to maintain the sword and cast one more. Lars was surprised, as he did not expect that Tesla would ask him to dual wield. After successfully casting another fire sword, Tesla then instructed Lars to continue with triple wielding. Tesla informed Lars of an S-ranked mage named Luda, the Crimson Knight, who could wield up to 10 fire swords at the same time. Since Lars announced that he would surpass all of the S-ranked mages, Tesla informed him ahead of time who he would be up against. Tesla explained to Lars that unless he was highly skilled in swordsmanship, casting 1 or 2 swords would be considered a beginner spell. However, if Lars was capable of manifesting a large number of powerful fire swords, then the beginner spell would become an intermediate spell, or even an advanced spell. Curious, Lars asked Tesla how Luda could wield 10 fire swords. Tesla responded that Luda had solved the problem by making the swords fly instead of holding them. Tesla then pointed out to Lars that all he needed to do was make the fire swords fly on their own. Lars then changed his training from casting more swords to making them appear and fly. Tesla advised Lars to imagine the sword growing wings and flying. By doing so, Lars could turn short-range magic into long-range magic. Following Tesla's instructions, Lars ended up changing the form of the sword into a huge firebird, letting it fly. Successful in making his magic fly, Lars was then scolded by Tesla, who informed him that there would be no point in the training if he couldn't maintain the form of the sword. Tesla suggested that they take a break so that Lars could regain his concentration. The Acre Central Library is known to be the second largest library in the kingdom after the Royal Library. While taking his rest at the library, Lars was reading a book containing information about Luda, the Crimson Knight. Lars learned that Luda is a mage who specializes in the fire element and is also a member of the Royal Mages Guild. Lars thought that Luda sounded very cool after reading that only a few people had seen Luda's real face. When the librarian saw Lars heading toward a door, she called out to him, informing him that the direction he was headed was off-limits to regular patrons. After apologizing to the librarian, Lars was amazed that even magic libraries had books about forbidden magic, even owning secret rooms. Not looking at where he was headed, Lars ended up bumping into Shale. The two apologized to one another. After explaining that she was in a hurry, Shale asked Lars if he was hurt anywhere. Lars responded that he was fine, but was surprised when he noticed that Shale's arm was bleeding. Although Shale told Lars that the wound was fine, Lars could see that she was lying and immediately wrapped the wound with a cloth. After thanking Lars, Shale then said her farewell and went in the direction of the special room. Lars was about to inform Shale that she was not allowed there when she cut him off, signaling him to be quiet. After chanting a spell, a magic circle appeared beneath Shale's feet, causing her to vanish. Surprised at what he witnessed, Lars became frightened, hoping that what he saw was not a ghost. Going back to his training, Lars was still thinking about Shale and how weird their interaction was. Shifting his focus to training, Lars set his goal to run 1 lap around the city. Lars stopped momentarily to take a rest and estimated that he had already reached halfway. Hearing a noise nearby, Lars investigated where it was coming from and was surprised to find a woman swinging a sword. Impressed by how fast the woman swung her sword, Lars was curious as to how many times the sword had been swung. Unbeknownst to Lars, the woman had already noticed him and told him that it was rude to peep. Lars was asked if he had any interest in the sword, but before he could answer, the woman suddenly threw a sword at him. Lars caught the sword and was surprised at how heavy it was. The woman explained that the sword only looked like a normal wooden sword, but in reality, it was made of lead. The woman reassured Lars that by swinging the sword 10,000 times a day, he would become strong. Lars could not believe that one could even swing it that many times. He then tried to swing the sword once and ended up failing hilariously. After his workout, Lars returned to his inn and thought about how he had met some weird women in just one day. The two women Lars met reminded him of Tesla a little as they showed elusiveness. Returning to his training with Tesla, Lars could now manifest 2 fire swords and make them float. However, he was still unable to properly control them. Instead of being disappointed, Tesla praised Lars for showing much better control than before, but she also noticed that Lars was trying too hard. Tesla then advised Lars not to think about the speed of the blade and to just concentrate on where it was headed. If Lars could successfully apply Tesla's instructions, she was sure that the sword would fly to its target naturally. Out of nowhere, a spatial transmission magic appeared. When Tesla approached the magic and obtained a paper, she then informed Lars that they would be going back to the guild, as someone she knew had returned. Returning to the magic guild, Lars noticed that there were way more people than normal. Tesla explained that Shale, the guild expert on ancient magic literature, had returned from the ancient ruins. Shale would be giving her report about her investigation. Tesla also expected that Shale would bring magical artifacts for appraisal, and that half of the mages currently present were hoping to take one for themselves. Seeing Tesla very excited, Lars asked her if there was something she wanted. Tesla revealed that she was hoping to get a spellbook and planned to start negotiating with Shale as soon as the appraisal was over. Lars was shocked when Tesla informed him that she had already set 2 billion ruts aside for bidding. Lars asked Tesla if the group of mages nearby was who she was up against. Tesla was sure that the party only came to watch and was more interested in shiny new things over ancient artifacts. Pointing to the cloaked guy in the shadows, Tesla expressed her concern toward him, as she had lost to the cloaked guy the last time she entered the auction. As time passed, Tesla became frustrated that Shale was running late. When Tesla suggested that they leave, Lars thought that Tesla had given up on the artifact. It had been ages since the last investigation report and Tesla had really been looking forward to it. When Tesla finally made her decision to give up, she then noticed Shale running toward her. Seeing Shale for the second time, Lars finally realized that the woman in the library and the expert in ancient literature were the same person. Shale asked Tesla to come with her, informing Tesla that something bad had happened. Tesla tried to calm Shale down and asked what had happened. After investigating the Waiga ruins, Shale expressed her regret to Tesla for not properly forming a party for her investigation. All of a sudden, a huge explosion occurred inside the Magic Guild, surprising not just Lars but everyone else as well. Shale became frightened after seeing the Magic Guild burning. Tesla then comforted Shale after noticing her behavior. Inside the Magic Guild, many mages were injured and were rushed to the infirmary. Meanwhile, the mages who could still fight were defending the guild from monsters that had appeared out of nowhere. After saving the others, a mage then informed the injured mages to leave the monsters to them and help the others. Upon investigating, the special mages found summoning magic carved into the floor. After the incident, a meeting was held for all guild leaders, including all mages and staff. It was reported that around 100 people were wounded and half of the building was in ruins. Shocked by the extent of the damage, a woman suggested reaching out to the main branch for help. However, other leaders opposed the idea as they did not want their branch to be embarrassed, suggesting that they should just deal with the problem on their own. Seeing that no member was in sync with the others, the branch director, Galar, had enough of their bickering and ordered everyone to be quiet. Galar reminded the others of the main purpose of their guild, but with the recent attack, he noticed that they had practically failed in their main purpose, and even caused harm to the people of Acre. Galar was frustrated that their power and influence could turn to nothing if they just idly waited for something to happen. Wanting to take action, Galar gave the order to gather all mages who were still mobile, put together a party, and take the enemy down at once. At the Central Wing reception hall, Lars approached Shale asking her if her wound still hurt as she looked very pale. Recognizing Lars from the library, Shale explained that she had no idea Lars was a mage and apologized for making him worry. Lars thought about how lucky they were to have been outside the building at the time of the explosion. When Lars saw Tesla staring at him and Shale, Lars realized that he was still holding Shale's hand, which he immediately let go of, not wanting to create any misunderstandings. Galar stepped out of the meeting room and informed everyone that he would be taking full command of the guild. Galar proposed forming a party to track down the enemy, and asked for those who had confidence in their abilities to step forward. Lars smiled after seeing all the mages unite under one goal. Since Galar had already proposed tracking down the enemy, the mayor asked if he had evidence as to who the culprit was. After informing the mayor that he did have evidence, Galar then instructed everyone inside the guild not to tell anyone what he was about to say. Galar then showed the rock that had the summoning magic engraved on it, informing everyone that it had been found on the floor of the guild hall. Galar believed that the culprit had entered several rooms containing magic barrier stones and formed a summoning circle directly on the floor of the room. With the information they had so far, Galar and the people he had tasked with investigating deduced that the enemy was not only a mage but also a member of the Magic Guild. The news surprised everyone, as they did not expect that one of their own would try to harm their beloved guild. Shale could no longer withhold the information. Raising her hand, she told everyone that she had an idea as to who the culprit was. Shale explained that on the way back from Acre, after investigating the Waiga ruins, her party had been attacked and the attackers stole a rare artifact. Shale was so focused on the findings of the investigation that she didn't notice the attackers. She shared that the magic she had felt then was exactly the same as the one she sensed during the Magic Guild attack. Revealing a pentagram, Shale explained that when she woke up, the pentagram had been placed next to her. Recognizing the pentagram, Galar revealed that it was the sign of a black mage. The news caused an uproar, making everyone concerned for their safety. Holding Lars's robe, Tesla asked Shale if the pentagram was what Shale had been trying to say earlier. Seeing Tesla tremble, Lars realized that he had never seen Tesla shaken before and tried to calm her down. When Tesla asked Shale what artifact had been stolen, Shale responded that it was a spell book. Even more concerning was that it was an ancient book. Shale explained how she had entered the restricted area to look for clues, as she couldn't decode the ancient book. Galar then asked Shale if she knew that the room was forbidden, which Shale admitted she did and apologized for entering. Shale did not mind accepting any punishment, but only after she had reclaimed the artifact, as she felt wholly responsible. Galar was surprised when Tesla volunteered to join, explaining that she had wanted to bid on the ancient book. Seeing that they had promising prodigies as part of their mission, Galar deduced that the Black Mage attacked the guild to stop Shale from coming after them after stealing the artifact. Galar announced that whoever completed the mission would receive a special reward, and asked if there were any more volunteers to take down the enemy. The enthusiastic mages, who had previously volunteered, now vanished, very much concerned after learning that a black mage was involved. A woman in a black cloak called out to Galar, asking permission to join the mission. The mages immediately recognized the woman as Tsubaki. Galar was surprised and curious as to why Tsubaki, an S-rank mage known as the Solitary Samurai, wanted to be part of a team. Although all the mages who volunteered had always worked alone, they were still ranked as high mages, making Galar believe that they might be able to defeat the black mage with their powers combined. With the hunting party formed, Galar instructed the rest of the mages to take turns defending the guild hall. Tsubaki expressed her joy at seeing both Tesla and Shale again after so long. The two were also happy to see Tsubaki once more. Tesla, on the other hand, hoped that Tsubaki would show them how strong she had become. Seeing how close the three were, Lars wondered if they were friends or rivals. Tesla and Shale were surprised when Tsubaki suddenly interacted with Lars. Tsubaki explained that she had just had a good workout session with Lars and nothing more. Tesla then formally introduced Lars to the two as her apprentice, which surprised them. The two then began to doubt Lars based on his appearance. Looking at the three women, Lars was sure that they were the strongest party in Acre. Determined to do anything so that he wouldn't hold the party back, Lars vowed not to let the black mages continue to be free and do whatever they wanted. While taking a bath, both Tsubaki and Shale were very much eager to know as to why Tesla took Lars as an apprentice. Tesla was silent for a moment before telling the two that she was just curious about Lars. Shale's eyes glowed from the news, assuming that Tesla had finally fallen in love. Tesla immediately clarified that what she saw in Lars was merely his potential in becoming a powerful mage. Shale mentioned that she would have offered to help if Tesla really did fall for Lars. With the time she spent with Lars, Tsubaki could tell that Lars is very good with people. Tsubaki assumes that Tesla felt like her troubles would go away when she was with Lars, which Tesla confirmed. Upon hearing Tesla's answer, Shale immediately jumped to the conclusion that it was love. However, the other two were not in the same boat as her, making her feel embarrassed. On the day of their departure, Lars apologized for coming in late. Shale and the others didn't mind as they themselves had also just arrived after taking a nap. The moment Shale saw Lars, she was surprised that Lars was able to carry so much luggage. Lars does not know how long the search for the culprit would take, so he decided to bring all the necessities he needed to be comfortable when camping out. Shale was very impressed with Lars's forward thinking, expressing that Lars is the first one she had met to be so prepared. When Shale approached Lars, he suddenly moved away, which left the others confused. Lars explained that he gets really nervous about being involved in a big party. Puzzled by Lars's reasoning, Shale grabbed Lars's hand and reminded him why he was shy now when he was able to talk to her normally, and even held her hand. Sensing an ominous aura from Tesla, Lars tried to remove his hand while explaining the cause of his trauma. Tsubaki told Shale to stop pestering Lars, pointing out that Lars was embarrassed. Tsubaki then informed Lars that he didn't have to worry about matching their skills and that all Lars needed to do was to take things at his own pace. Lars then thanked the two for their consideration and advice. To start off their journey, Shale asked for Tesla to make a boat that was both light and sturdy. Using her magic, Tesla was able to create a small boat that could fit all of them. Lars was confused as to why they were taking a boat, pointing out that they did not know which direction the culprit was headed. Shale explained that according to her calculation, the culprit was headed north. Since the culprit did not use transportation magic to escape, Shale guessed that the culprit left on foot and took the shortest route of the country, which is the Udes River in the north. After hearing Shale's explanation, Lars remembered the exact place where they planned to cut the culprit off. It is known that no one at Lars's level when he was still a knight would return if they entered the Arbus Valley. Everyone then entered the boat and followed Shale's calculations. Lars was surprised when the boat suddenly floated. Shale advised the others to hold on tight as the ride would be very bumpy. At an intense speed, Lars and the others flew. Curious, Lars asked everyone about the black mages. Shale responded that for them as white mages, black mage was equivalent to a taboo phrase. Since Lars did not know about the black mages, Tsubaki guessed that Tesla had never told Lars about them. Seeing Tesla nod, Tsubaki assumed that Tesla did not want Lars to be involved with the black mages. Black mages are a group of heretics who wish to exterminate all humans, achieve their ugly ambitions, and perform human experiments. If one becomes a high-ranking mage, they are sure to encounter a black mage. Tsubaki also believed that sooner or later Lars would face a black mage since his mentor is an S-ranked mage. Lars appreciated that two S-ranked mages were worried for him, but Lars made it clear that he too wanted to fight. Lars wanted to use the mission as an opportunity to let loose his uncontrollable magic. In order to protect everyone, Lars would not hesitate to use his magic to blast the black mages away. Both Shale and Tsubaki were impressed with Lars's speech and were rooting for him. As the party arrived at the Arbus Valley, their ride was suddenly shaken by a strong gust of wind. After Tesla jumped off, the rest then fell as the boat turned over. When Lars finally woke up, Tsubaki asked him if he was okay. Based on their surroundings, Tsubaki believed that they had landed at the bottom of the valley, but she was still curious as to what had saved them. A more pressing matter was that the place where they landed had sealed off their magic. The two wondered if the bottom part of the valley was the dungeon heard of in rumors. Shale panicked as she realized that she couldn't use her magic. After Tsubaki calmed Shale down, Shale explained to Lars that she had no way to defend herself, unlike Tsubaki, who had a sword. Although Shale showed a smile, Lars knew that Shale was very scared. Tsubaki then explained that she was in the same boat as everyone, revealing that she couldn't remove her sword from its sheath. Tsubaki reassured Lars that nothing bad would happen, promising that she would smash the sheath of her sword just to keep the three of them alive. Lars felt bad that the others had to act strong in front of him just so that Lars wouldn't panic and be scared. Lars understands that the situation right now is scary enough to bring even an S-rank mage to the brink of despair. Lars could only think of one thing at times when they were about to lose hope. In front of the two, Lars tried to cheer them up while making funny faces. Lars was then able to calm the two, reassuring them as well that they would be fine as long as they were together. To ease the tension even more, Lars shared how nervous he still was about being a part of their party. Worried about what others might think of him, Lars felt sad that no one wanted to depend on him even though they were all comrades. Lars hoped that the two would watch over him, as he would even dare to use his bare hands to face his enemies. The two finally showed an honest smile, believing that Lars was truly special, and not just because of his innate abilities. Tsubaki started investigating what had happened to them, asking Shale if the boat had just happened to fall out of the blue. Shale responded that as they got lower, her magic started to get weaker and weaker. Tsubaki believed that the mist above was the thing sealing their magic. Lars then volunteered to take care of the mist and suggested that the others stay down. As Lars continued to climb up the cliff, Tsubaki and Shale eventually lost sight of him. When Lars turned around, he did not expect that he was already high enough that he could no longer see the bottom. Even though Lars's hands were now full of blisters and blood, he still did not want to give up after everything he had said to Tsubaki and Shale. When Lars finally reached the top of the cliff, he was able to use his magic once again. After enhancing his body to full power, Lars thought of an idea and hoped that he was not wrong with his plan. Closing his eyes, Lars jumped off the cliff and blew the fog away. With Lars's strong magic, not only did the fog vanish, but it was also strong enough to knock Tsubaki and Shale down. After clearing the fog, Lars then emitted small traces of magic, creating a barrier to keep the mist from coming back. When Lars returned, both Tsubaki and Shale were amazed at how strong the magic Lars displayed was, making them wonder if Lars was truly a beginner. Lars explained that his plan had a 50% chance of working. Seeing that she could unsheath her sword, Tsubaki could tell that her magic was back. When Shale finally felt her magic return, she realized how much she had depended on it. As the two thanked Lars for saving them, Lars responded that he wouldn't have survived without Tesla's intense training. Shale then realized that Tesla was with them and asked the others if they had seen Tesla. Worried, everyone immediately started looking for Tesla. On the search for Tesla, Lars remembered that Tesla had jumped off first before everyone else fell from the boat. Since the fall was pretty high, Lars wondered if Tesla was still able to use her magic despite the mist. Shale was not sure of Lars's theory but believes that Tesla may be safe after seeing the boat still in one piece. The three became worried for Tesla's safety, hoping that they could find Tesla first before the enemy did. Lars and the others heard a voice calling for his attention. When Lars followed the voice, the three were surprised when they saw Tesla lying on a flower bed. Lars tried to approach Tesla, but instead he was almost cut in half as vines started appearing from underground. The voice revealed how it wanted the three to walk around the valley aimlessly, but because of Lars's strong power, the plan had failed. Lars and the others were then greeted by their enemy, who revealed herself as Ludo, a black mage. Lars was shocked as he finally saw a black mage. Tsubaki asked Ludo to release Tesla. However, Ludo had no plans of following Tsubaki's request, tightening her grip and threatening Tesla's life. Ludo was very much intrigued by Tesla, just as she was with Lars. Tesla noticed the mist Ludo had created, impressing Ludo. However, Tesla's actions led to her fall as she tried to protect Lars and the others from the fall. Ludo mocked Tesla's choice, stating that no one in the ranks of the black mages would dare to do what Tesla did. Ludo eventually gave up on having Tesla join their group, and now had decided to make Tesla her personal plaything. Lars could not take the treatment Ludo was showing to Tesla and asked to take her place instead. Hearing Lars's offer, Ludo found Lars's sacrifice disgusting but still accepted the idea. With Lars now in her grasp, Ludo ordered Lars to show his true ability. Sensing Lars's pure magic, Ludo couldn't wait to dye Lars's magic with black. Out of nowhere, the plant that had been holding Tesla was thrown at Ludo's head. A weak Tesla then ordered Ludo to leave Lars alone. Lars was surprised as he had thought that Tesla's power had returned. However, it was revealed that Tesla was still powerless after throwing all of the plants at Ludo. Confused, Ludo asked Tesla how she had released herself from her trap, as she remembered that Tesla's magic had all dried up. Shale explained that while Ludo was so focused on Lars, she had sent her familiar to Tesla, giving her some magic. Tsubaki then fully removed all the traps around Tesla's body using her sword. Before the three could share a moment after being reunited, Ludo then used her powers, taking Lars with her. To Ludo's surprise, Lars suddenly grabbed her by the mouth, inserting his magic into Ludo. Ludo felt so much pleasure after receiving so much pure magic from Lars. However, her greed ended up backfiring, as Ludo exploded after taking in so much magic. Lars was surprised, as he did not expect Ludo to disintegrate. Shale explained that what Lars had destroyed was just a golem that looked like Ludo, revealing that Ludo preferred to hide in the shadows. Shale was very much impressed by Lars's tactic and believed that the black mages were now scared to their core. When Tesla mentioned that Lars was capable of such powers because he was a platinum, both Tsubaki and Shale were surprised, as they had just learned such vital information. Tesla apologized to everyone for making them worry. Tsubaki warned Tesla not to repeat such reckless moves again. After gaining a hefty amount of magic from Lars, Tesla expressed that she now felt refreshed, but still felt that something was off. Based on the makeup of the golem, Tesla believed that Ludo specialized in earth magic. Putting her hand on the ground and releasing multiple spikes, Tesla's attack proved to be successful as Ludo was blown away. Ludo was confused and asked Tesla how she had found her location. As a mage that specialized in earth magic as well, Tesla sensed Ludo's magic as it reeked of pure sinisterness. With Ludo's true form revealed, Lars was a bit disappointed, as he had assumed that the golem was Ludo's exact copy. Wanting to prove her superiority over Tesla and the others, Ludo chanted her magic and slapped the ground. However, Ludo was very confused as to why her magic was not working. Shale revealed that after Lars had created a barrier to protect them, she had also created a barrier of her own, giving permission for only white mages to use magic. Not wanting to deal with Ludo's vulgar mouth any longer, she then used her magic to subdue Ludo. Seeing how Ludo was persistent in keeping a secret about the stolen spellbook, both Shale and Tesla proposed an idea of torture. Lars remembered Ludo mentioning that it was almost complete. Lars grabbed Ludo by the rope, asking Ludo what it was about. Ludo tried to make fun of Lars but immediately cowered after Lars attempted to smash Ludo's face with his fist full of magic. Not wanting to get smashed, Ludo revealed that the demon Formaid's resurrection was upon them. Hearing the name of the demon, Lars grabbed Ludo and asked if she was referring to the demon that rampaged through town hundreds of years ago. Lars assumed that the story about Formido was just a legend and nothing but a fairy tale. Ludo then reminded Lars of the reason why their party had chased after her to the valley. Shale realized that it was all related to the stolen spellbook, after which she asked Ludo if she had been able to decipher it. Ludo revealed that the book was full of demonic scriptures and that they were helping a man who wanted to use the book. Laughing maniacally, Ludo assumed that the resurrected demon was already causing chaos in town. Lars fell to his knees, unable to believe that they had fallen right into the Black Mage's trap. Meanwhile, a guard in the town was patrolling the border when he immediately turned pale upon seeing a huge demon approaching. The guard immediately sounded the bell, informing everyone of the demon. With the news of the demon coming toward town, all of the citizens immediately left their homes and moved to the evacuation cellars. When an old man was asked by his grandchild if he intended to run away, the old man responded that running away was senseless, as he believed that the mages were strong enough to defeat the demon. All of the available men who could move and fight went to the front lines to face the demon. However, they immediately froze in fear as one roar from the demon almost blew the adventurers away. The adventurers, who were known to be very courageous, were now filled with fear, doubting their weapons against the demon. A face suddenly popped out of Formido's chest, laughing and mocking the adventurers' guild. The face introduced himself as Laswell, the person who had summoned Formido in order to achieve a demonic form and become immortal. The mayor recognized the name Laswell and told the guildmaster of the Adventurers Guild that Laswell was a mage who had been banished from the Magic Guild. Spreading out his wings, Laswell wanted to play with the others a little more before he went and destroyed the Magic Guild. As the people witnessed the demon channeling a huge energy ball, panic and despair spread to each and every one of them. Before Formido could release the energy ball, it suddenly received an attack from behind, causing one of its wings to fall off. Riding the boat, Lars was very happy that they had been able to make it back in time. Recognizing the capes worn by the white mages, Laswell asked if they had come to get in the way of his revenge. Lars was shocked when he saw Laswell's face on Formido's chest. Shale was able to recognize Laswell's face and realized that he was the one who had helped the black mages in the attack on the guild. Lars asked if it was okay to hurt a mage who used to be one of them. Since Laswell had his license revoked, they believed that Laswell had taken the form of a demon to retaliate. The fact that Laswell used to be their ally was enough reason for Tsubaki and the others to fight Laswell and send him onto the right path. Planning to seal Laswell's power, Tesla ordered Shale to lower the boat. Initiating the attack, Tsubaki jumped off the boat and used her Dragon God Blade to injure Laswell. Following Tsubaki's attack, Tesla activated her Endless Chain spell, subduing the demon. With their final attack, Shale used Graviton to fully stop Formido's movement. The three hoped that their attack would help Laswell regain his senses. However, their attack only convinced Laswell even more of how amazing his new form was. With his body fused with the demon Formido, Laswell claimed that he was now equal to the Great Sage. Upon hearing Laswell claim to be as strong as the Great Sage, Lars tried to talk some sense into Laswell. However, Lars's words were not getting through to Laswell as he made it clear that he did not care for their respect. Lars shed a tear, informing Laswell how Tesla and the others once called him their ally. After listening to Lars, Laswell started to speak honestly about how he was always criticized and overlooked for a promotion. Despite people talking behind his back, Laswell kept his head down and worked hard to become an S-ranked mage. Unfortunately, in his journey to seek power, Laswell had lost his way. Laswell asked Lars what he was supposed to do now after losing his way and causing pain and sorrow for everyone. Lars promised Laswell that they would save him and take down Formido in the process. Laswell suddenly changed his attitude, laughing at Lars for believing that he was capable of taking them down. Seeing how Formido regenerated its wings and increased its power, Tsubaki believed that they were no longer talking to Laswell, but to the demon Formido itself. Tesla informed Lars that the fate of the fight would depend on him. Based on the history books, the first Great Sage had stopped Formido with a flame sword of pure gold. Tesla ordered Lars to use the technique they had been practicing. Lars then asked Tesla if he could take the ring off. Lars did not know if the sword he created was the same flame sword the first mage had used, but in order for Lars to defeat such a strong foe, he would have to remove his restrictions. Tesla refused the idea of Lars taking off the ring, as there was a great chance that he would not be able to control his magic. Seeing Formido once again channeling a huge energy ball, Lars was contemplating what to do. Tesla patted Lars's back, reassuring him that they would always be on his side. Shale then thought of an idea and suggested that they flow their magic into the ring, offsetting its restrictions and giving Lars more power and control. With no other option left, the three flowed their magic into Lars, combining their energy with his. Now with increased power and better control, Lars cast multiple flame swords, launching them at Formido and destroying the energy ball in the process. The clash of powers was so strong that it caused a huge explosion outside the city. Lars's attack resulted in the death of Laswell. Before dying, Laswell finally realized the difference in their resolve. As Formido's body disintegrated, Laswell felt the warm and compassionate flame from Lars's attack. The party was relieved as they had successfully defeated the demon Formido. Lars hoped that Laswell could now find peace. Shale was embarrassed and admitted that Lars had done all the heavy lifting, Everyone came out claiming Lars as the second coming of the great sage. After their exhausting fight, Tesla and the others celebrated their win by drinking liquor. Lars informed the three that he would be turning in, wanting to avoid the drunkards. Lying on his bed, Lars still could not believe that he had been able to control his magic. Lars instantly sobered up upon seeing Tesla on his bed, half naked. Lars then realized that the three drunk ladies he had been running away from were now in his room, sleeping on his bed. Lars ended up just sitting on his bed, unable to get a good rest. When Tesla and the others arrived at Lars's home, Shale was surprised and asked Tesla if it was really Lars's home. Tesla advised Lars to find a home with much better security. Tsubaki correctly guessed that Lars refused Tesla's suggestion, believing that he did not deserve such amenities. Lars then welcomed the three into his home, which surprised Shale since there was only one room. Lars explained that the place was mainly for him to get some rest. Both Tsubaki and Shale believed that a mage's home should be a place where they could relax and take care of their body. Shale wondered how one could rest in a run-down place. Lars's landlord then appeared, introducing herself to everyone. After being offered some tea, both Tsubaki and Shale felt embarrassed and immediately approached the landlord, showing respect. Tesla then reminded Lars of the purpose of their visit after being told that he wanted to show them something. Lars then brought out a bird, which the three found very cute. Tesla assumed that the bird was the creature that had hatched from the egg that Rodri gave Lars. Shale was surprised that Rodri would give him such a creature. Knowing Rodri as an eccentric person, both Shale and Tsubaki could not believe that Rodri would give something away for free. Tesla shared a rumor that Rodri used to be quite the formidable mage back in the day. Everyone was very curious about what type of magical beast the creature was. Since it was incubated with magic power, Shale was sure that it wasn't just a normal bird. Lars, who was also clueless, only hoped that he could raise the bird to be a cool magical beast. When Tesla mentioned that the bird might be a phoenix, Shale laughed, as she was sure that such a creature would not be a phoenix. Everyone was surprised when the bird suddenly let out an energy blast, causing Lars's home to have a huge hole. Looking into the bird's eyes, Tesla felt like she could understand it, telling everyone that the bird was trying to prove itself. Tsubaki was shocked to see the bird's powerful magic, wondering if it was really a phoenix. Meanwhile, the landlord turned pale after seeing what happened to her home. Lars apologized to the landlady, promising her that he would rebuild the whole place. The landlady was not mad at Lars, explaining to him that she was just surprised and that she had some old memories of the place. Tesla could see the similarities between Lars and the bird, with both having so much power but being unable to control it. Shale guessed that the bird's magic stone hadn't formed yet. Shale then explained that a magical beast that feeds on magic forms a magic stone in its body to prevent such outbursts. Though finding a magic stone was the fastest option to control the bird's power, Tesla wondered if they could even find a powerful enough magic stone to contain the bird's abilities, knowing that it was Lars who had incubated it. Tsubaki suggested that they convince a noble family with a collection of stones to part with one. Tesla was not sure if Duke Bellotto had a collection of magic stones, but she remembered seeing a request posted with the Duke's name as the client. Duke Bellotto was known as a powerful aristocrat who was the head of the military. Knowing how important the client was, Lars thought that it would have been nice to accept such a request. Tsubaki suggested to Lars that he accept Duke Bellotto's request for the sake of his magical beast, naming it Pisuke. Upon hearing the name, Shale thought it was lame and suggested naming it Arthur. While the two argued over the name, Tesla approached the bird and suggested the name Varys Loved Gillis, which surprised both Shale and Tsubaki, who told Tesla that such a name should not even be considered. Everyone then agreed that before the bird got stuck with a weird name, they would let the bird choose its own name. Since Lars's home was destroyed, he planned to look for another home for the time being. Tesla then returned to Lars, wanting to offer her home. To Tesla's surprise, both Shale and Tsubaki were already with Lars, also offering their homes to him. Lars was congratulated for reaching C rank so fast, and Shale was congratulated for finally receiving the long-awaited S rank. Shale was very happy to now be an S rank, and she tells Tsubaki that they can no longer act superior towards her. Getting emotional, Shale hugs Tsubaki tightly. Seeing an opportunity to get close to Lars, Tsubaki offers her chest to Lars so that he could also have someone to lean on when he cries. However, the offer was immediately rejected by Lars without hesitation. Holly then informs the three that the incident surrounding the demon Formido will be treated as a special request from the town of Acre. As for the rewards of the special request, Lars and the others will each be paid 300 million luts. Since the group had originally formed temporarily to help with the demon incident, Holly asks for the group to continue as a 4-member party, as she is sure that the main branch of the guild would deeply appreciate that the party would stay intact. The request works in Tsubaki's favor, as she states how she wanted to return to her training, but after facing the Black Mages, Tsubaki now fully intends to stop them at all costs. Shale as well accepts the request, stating how she regretted working alone in the past. When Lars was asked for his opinion about the request, Lars was surprised as he did not expect that he would be asked for his input, which made him hesitate for a moment before he then agreed to remain in the party. Lars had assumed that everyone would go their separate ways after dealing with the Black Mage and the Demon. Lars also assumed that since he got promoted to C rank, he wouldn't be Tesla's apprentice anymore. Tesla had always hated the fact that the guild requests high-ranking mages to form a group together. But now, seeing Lars as more of a partner than just a student, Tesla no longer minds if 2 more partners wanted to join their group. Showing a request to everyone, Tesla then informs them that it will be their first job as an official party, a request coming from Duke Balado. As everyone grouped up, Tesla suddenly grabs Lars's clothes, congratulating him quietly for the promotion. Lars and the others took a carriage and headed out to Duke Balado's castle. Upon arriving at the castle, Lars, who was really eager, asked the others for the reason why they had to meet the Duke in order to know more about the quest, and he also wondered about the fact that the payment was so high. Tesla assumes that the task may be quite difficult, and that only an S rank could truly take care of it. Meanwhile, Shale thought that the problem may be inconveniencing the Duke very much, and she also noted that it is very common for nobles to generally prefer hiding things that have to do with their family honor. Tsubaki then introduces the group as the mages that accepted the request, and she asks for permission to enter the castle. After being granted permission, the gates suddenly opened, and the group was then greeted by the Duke's butler, Bonnard. Before guiding the group to their quarters, Bonnard clasped his hands together and prayed that they do not make any careless mistakes. Entering the castle, the group was very much impressed with the Duke's collection of weapons. When Bonnard opened the door, Lars and the others were shown a woman lying in bed, her body covered in unknown markings. Shale guessed that the girl was cursed, which was making her sick. The group then met with their client, the Duke Delos Albaum Balado. While the other mages acted normally, Lars, on the other hand, kept on bowing in respect towards such a highly decorated person. Duke Balado proceeded to discuss the request he had posted. The Duke believed that he was running out of time and asked Lars's party to cure his daughter's magic deficiency illness right away. Upon hearing about the illness, Lars wondered if it was something that a doctor could not cure. Shale further explained that a magic deficiency illness is an extremely rare condition that only mages can get, and that it cannot be cured by any doctors. The usual cause of the illness is when a mage exceeds the limit of their magic power, which commonly results in the mage never waking up again. The Duke believed that being a mage was something his daughter had inherited from her mother, as everyone had such high expectations for her future. The only way for the illness to be cured was for the patient to receive an excessive amount of magic. Before Lars could share a possible solution, the Duke cut him off, ordering the group to head out to Dragon's Peak and retrieve a magic stone called the Dragon's Jewel. Based on the rumors that Tsubaki had heard, Dragon's Peak was a place where dragons used to nest. The Duke understood how dangerous the place could be, even for S-ranked mages, but he was also determined to do whatever he could for his daughter. Lars felt embarrassed when the Duke suddenly bowed his head in front of their party. Seeing the sincerity in the Duke's actions, Lars knelt and promised him that they would save his daughter. To cure the Duke's daughter, Lars confirmed with the Duke whether all they needed to do was pour magic onto her body. The Duke responded, but clarified that his daughter would require an incredible amount of magic. It was also not advisable for other mages to attempt to transfer their magic to the patient, as they would be risking themselves and could end up contracting the same illness. Noticing the difference in the cape colors, the Duke asked if Lars was a little different from the others. Both Shale and Tsubaki vouched for Lars, reassuring the Duke that Lars had enough magic to save his daughter. Upon learning that Lars was the mage who had defeated the demon, the Duke was amazed and immediately changed his mind about Lars. Before transferring his magic to the Duke's daughter, Lars first apologized to the Duke, as he would have to touch her. The Duke was astonished by how much magic Lars possessed, as the marks on his daughter's body slowly began to fade away. Lars was pleased with the result, as he could now feel the warmth in the hand of the Duke's daughter. When the girl finally regained consciousness, she coughed and asked what was happening. Seeing his daughter alive and well, Duke Balado could no longer contain his emotions and lifted his daughter with joy. Seeing the Duke's daughter Sistina in pain, Shale asked the Duke to calm down, as Sistina was still suffering from the after effects of her illness. Upon learning that she had contracted magic deficiency illness, Sistina realized that she had no memory of the illness. The Duke then explained that Sistina had contracted the illness half a month ago and had been on the verge of death. However, because of Lars, Sistina was saved. The Duke was so happy that he hugged Lars tightly. After rescuing his daughter, Duke Balado made a decision and asked Lars to marry his daughter. Sistina became embarrassed and asked her father to stop messing around. Apologizing to Lars for her father's behavior, Sistina then bowed down to Lars, expressing her gratitude toward her savior. Sistina then told her father that her memories had returned and asked if the mission she had been on was successful. The mission was to suppress a herd of ogres, and the Duke explained that the mission had been successful because of Sistina's magnificent plan. However, Sistina had also used up all of her power, which caused her to develop magic deficiency illness. When Sistina asked if the ogre chief had been defeated, the Duke looked confused as he had heard that it was Sistina who had dealt the finishing blow. Sistina revealed that she had only managed to wound the ogre chief. The Duke had been told that the ogre chief would not survive after sustaining such serious injuries. However, Sistina believed that the wound the ogre chief had received would be completely healed in just a month. Now facing a new problem, both father and daughter did not know what to do or how to deal with the ogre chief. Lars's party then stepped up and volunteered to take care of the ogre chief for them. Sistina was being bathed by her maids, who were also very eager to know what had happened. Embarrassed, Sistina asked the maid, Hannah, what she meant and why she was giggling. Another maid spoke up and mentioned that she had witnessed everything, specifically mentioning Lars's name. Hannah was very curious about Lars after learning that Duke Bellotto favored him so much. Realizing that Hannah was referring to the marriage that the Duke had offered to Lars, Sistina made it clear that her father had just been joking. Sistina was afraid that what her father had said might spread around town, tarnishing their name and reputation. Hannah thought about checking Lars out while he was still staying at the castle, but Sistina ordered Hannah not to disturb him as they would be leaving the next day to take care of the ogres. When the next day came, Lars was still not sure what the Duke had meant when he proposed a marriage between Lars and his daughter. Although Sistina had power equivalent to an A rank, Tesla was still unsure if Sistina's presence was necessary and hoped that she wouldn't get in the way. Seeing Sistina looking motivated, Shale told everyone to give Sistina the benefit of the doubt. Meanwhile, Sistina was in front of the carriage along with Bernard, ordering him to drive faster. Somewhere in an open field, two sisters were picking herbs when, all of a sudden, the older girl heard a sound. Upon standing up, she was surprised to see a horde of ogres and immediately ran back to report it to their village. The village was shocked to learn about the ogres and realized they were now in a dire situation, as the ogres were trying to smash their gates. Before the ogres could fully tear the gate down, Sistina arrived just in time to stop them with her skill, Light Javelin. Not wanting to let a single ogre get away, Sistina offered to take care of the ogres by herself. While Lars was shocked at how reckless Sistina's actions were, both Tsubaki and Shale volunteered to go after Sistina and reinforce the village's gate. Lars also wanted to contribute to the mission, but before he could do so, Tesla warned him to be careful not to set the forest on fire. Sensing a presence nearby, Tesla looked up and was surprised to see an ogre lord. Both Tesla and Lars fortunately saw the ogre lord in time and immediately dodged its attack. Out of nowhere, Sistina rushed in between Lars and the ogre lord, wanting to take care of the ogre lord as well. When Lars asked Sistina if she was sure, Sistina reassured him that she would be fine. As the last time she had fought the ogre lord, she had only lost consciousness. Thanks to the magic she had received from Lars, Sistina felt more confident that she could take down the ogre lord. However, from the ogre lord's point of view, it had never met Sistina before. Planning to handle the other ogres, Tesla left the decision to Lars. Since no one objected to Sistina's request to take care of the ogre lord alone, she went ahead and charged right at it. After dodging the ogre lord's attack, Sistina countered with her magic spell. However, she immediately noticed that her spell timing was off. Sistina understood that it had been a while since she last used magic, but she believed that 2 weeks was not enough for her skills to have already deteriorated. All of a sudden, Sistina felt like her magic was overflowing, as if she were going to explode. Seeing Sistina distracted, the ogre lord landed a sneak attack, throwing Sistina away. Lars wanted to show his powers and take the chance to defeat the ogre lord, but Sistina asked Lars not to intervene, wishing to defeat the ogre lord by herself. The Bellotto house had been known for producing warriors for hundreds of years, and Sistina wished to follow in her family's footsteps. Believing herself to be a loser, Sistina wanted to prove herself and dispel the shame she had brought to her ancestors. Unable to forgive herself, Sistina's heart was filled with rage, determined to burn the ogre lord into charcoal. Strengthening her body to its maximum output, Sistina was able to block the ogre lord's attack and counter with her spell, Saint Wall. Lars was very impressed with Sistina for defeating the ogre lord by herself. Meanwhile, Tsubaki had also finished taking care of the other ogres. Everyone then grouped up after defeating all of the ogres. Sistina thanked Lars and the others for their help in defeating the ogres. Lars had been worried at first about accepting a request from a noble, but after meeting Sistina, he felt that he was lucky. Seeing that the fight had already ended, Shale felt useless for not contributing. Lars comforted Shale, telling her that he also didn't get a chance to fight and that Sistina had taken care of the ogres. Seeing Sistina, the village chief thanked her for her kindness and invited them to rest and use their hot spring. While the ladies were now bathing at the hot spring, they were wondering where Sistina had gone. Sistina then spoke up, expressing how shy she was about being naked in front of others. When Tesla mentioned that Lars was watching behind her, Sistina felt embarrassed and ended up jumping into the water. Meanwhile, Lars was just resting in the men's bath, enjoying his time. When Lars returned from the mission, Duke Balado immediately hugged him, appreciating how Lars had looked after his daughter. The Duke lifted Lars up and kept swinging him, grateful to Lars for allowing the Balado name to maintain its honor. When the Duke also thanked Tesla and the others, Shale could tell that the Duke only had eyes for Lars. Thinking of a suitable reward for everyone, Duke Balado asked Lars again if he really did not want to become his son-in-law. Embarrassed by her father's actions, Sistina asked her father to just give a proper reward and not bring up the marriage proposal. After being reminded by Shale of their original objective, Lars asked the Duke if he was willing to part with one of his magic stones. Seeing no problem with the request, Duke Balado told Lars that he could take as many magic stones as he wanted from their treasure room. Sistina interrupted her father, telling him that magic stones alone were not enough to repay what Lars had done for them. Before Duke Balado could offer his daughter's hand in marriage again, he was cut off by Tesla, who requested the villa that the Balado family owned in the 8th district of the royal capital. Shale was surprised when Tsubaki commented that living in the 8th district would grant them a high status among mages. The Duke was a bit grumpy since no one wanted what he was offering, but with his daughter's persuasion, he agreed to the reward. Duke Balado called for Bonnard, instructing him to arrange the transfer of ownership for the villa and to have it prepared by the end of the week. Receiving their reward, Shale and Tsubaki cheered for their new home. While having some tea, Lars commented on how eager he was to visit the royal capital. Shale thought that they were now living the dream by being able to reside in a high-status area. Tsubaki thanked Lars for allowing them to achieve a new home to settle down in. Embarrassed, Lars responded that he had not done anything. Tesla then mentioned that they had only received such rewards because the Duke and Sistina had taken a liking to Lars. A maid then entered the room, informing Lars that the Duke wished to speak with him. When Lars entered the room, he was surprised to see Sistina instead. When Lars asked for the Duke, Sistina responded that he wanted to give Lars a special reward. Lars felt embarrassed, stating that the Duke and Sistina had already given him so much that a special reward was not needed. Sistina turned around, surprising Lars with a kiss. Lars was shocked, clearing his head. When Lars asked Sistina what she had done, Sistina responded that she wanted to show how she felt about him. Embarrassed, Sistina left in a hurry. Returning to their room, Lars did not see anyone, so he asked the maid where the others had gone. The maid told Lars that Tsubaki had gone to browse the Duke's rare sword collection, while Shale had gone to the library. Tesla was in the treasure room, waiting for Lars. Entering the treasure room, Lars immediately noticed that numerous treasure chests were scattered all around. Tesla called Lars, informing him that she had found something amazing. Referring to the magic stone, Lars told Tesla that there was a much larger stone on the table. Tesla lectured Lars to never be fooled by appearances, referring to both magic stones and women. The stone was called Magic Amber, a piece of amber embedded with magic. When Tesla suggested that Lars test the stone out, Lars was amazed at how pure the magic felt. Seeing the color of the stone, Lars mentioned that it had the same shade as Tesla's lips, crimson pink. While Lars was commenting on how he wanted to eat the amber, Tesla, still surprised by Lars's comment, leaned on Lars and asked if he wanted to try. Before things escalated further, Shale entered the room asking Tesla if they had found something good. Embarrassed, both Tesla and Lars immediately acted indifferent toward each other. After finishing their mission, Lars's party left the castle, bidding farewell to Sistina. While waving to everyone, Sistina was sure that their next meeting would be fun. When Lars finally returned home, he was greeted by his angry bird. Lars then apologized, explaining that the quest had taken longer than expected. While feeding the bird his magic, Lars wondered if it would be okay for someone like him to live somewhere in the royal capital. Lars then showed the amber to his bird, which immediately took and swallowed it. Lars was surprised when the bird flew and emitted magic. When Lars opened his eyes, he saw that the bird had changed its form and now looked even more magnificent. With the bird's new form, Lars was eager to know what more it could do. A week had passed and Lars was now riding a carriage to the royal capital. Arriving at the villa that Duke Balado had rewarded them with, Lars was welcomed by the maids of the home who called him master. Lars was then informed that they had already prepared a room for him and asked him to follow them. Entering his room, Lars was shocked at how big it was, asking the maids if it was really his room or the ballroom. Lars was informed that the ladies had given him the biggest room in the villa. Lars then met his party members one by one, but when he entered Tesla's room, he was surprised to accidentally see her changing clothes. Tesla apologized to Lars, explaining that she had gotten confused about what she should wear. When night came, the three ladies were concerned as they had not seen Lars after greeting him in the morning. Tesla recognized the maid who had guided Lars earlier, and the ladies then approached her to ask about Lars's whereabouts. Sayo, the maid in charge of Lars's room, told the ladies that Lars did not like the huge room and preferred to stay in the room above. When the three entered Lars's room, they were surprised at how small it was. Seeing Lars asleep, Shale also noticed Pisuke, now bigger. Lars could not believe that the Magic Guild's main branch was floating in the sky. Tesla explained that since the royal capital was built on top of ancient ruins, the city acts as one big magic circle known as the Ancient Magic Crystal. Unfortunately, Tesla only knew that much and suggested to Lars that if he wanted to know more he would have to talk to Shale. While Tesla handled the registration paperwork, she instructed Lars to check if there were any interesting requests for them to take and suggested that he look out for rare ones. Looking at his surroundings, Lars was very impressed by how the mages looked and expected no less from the royal capital. Lars was amazed when he saw the quest board as it was full of requests. Following Tesla's instructions, Lars searched for requests that were rare and fit for their team to take. Lars noticed a request to accompany a research group to the unexplored region at the edge of the Eastern Sea and found it exciting. Out of nowhere, an old man approached Lars wanting to check his ring. Lars was nervous as he had not even noticed the old man behind him. When the old man guessed that it was the moon ring, Lars responded that he was correct, explaining that he had bought the ring at a shop run by Rodri. After confirming that Lars was acquainted with Rodri, the old man then showed spite toward Rodri for not showing him the ring. Curious about Lars, the old man looked at him from head to toe. However, when he couldn't find anything special, he laughed, as he was very curious about Lars's power. Lars explained that he was still just a beginner, which the old man found quite humbling. He told Lars that a mage's training never ends, claiming that he himself was still a fledgling who trained every day. The old man had visited the main branch to post a request, but after meeting Lars, he decided to let Lars accept it. Handing him the request, the old man told Lars that if he was interested, he should stop by his place. Although the cape was a bit tattered, Lars could tell that it was a black cape, worn by S-ranked mages. Lars then noticed a group of mages nearby trying to invite Tesla to have a meal with them. When Tesla refused, the bald mage asked if she was really going to turn down a potential future sage candidate like him, to which Tesla outright responded, yes. Lars then intervened, asking Tesla if she was in the middle of something. Tesla told Lars that she was done, and that they would now be leaving. When the bald man asked Tesla about Lars, who was following her around, Tesla grabbed Lars before he could even introduce himself. The bald mage continued to mock Tesla for hanging out with Lars, who was only C rank. Claiming to be the only suitable person for Tesla, the bald mage kept reminding her about it. However, Tesla also reminded him that she had refused him every time. Seeing that Tesla would never change, the bald mage told her that she wouldn't be top dog for long, and that he would soon surpass her. When the bald mage and his group left, Lars looked worried and asked Tesla if it was fine for her to act coldly toward them. Tesla didn't care, as the bald mage had always acted like a jerk. Tesla then informed Lars that she had already submitted their application to go to the inner area of the city. She revealed that for their registration to be successful, it was required to have a party name and leader. The name they chose was the Wands of the Morning Sun, with Lars as their leader. Lars felt speechless from the news as he also felt like the responsibility had been forced on him. Tesla was sure that if one of the other ladies were the leader, they would never stop arguing. Almost forgetting about the request, Lars informed Tesla about the one he received from the old man, asking if he was a friend of Rodri. Taking the request, Tesla was unsure if Rodri even had a friend. Upon reading the request, Tesla immediately stood up asking Lars where the client was. Surprised by Tesla's behavior, Lars told her that the old man had already left and asked if she knew him. Tesla revealed that the old man was Master Trismegistus, a sage. Everyone was shocked when they saw Tesla's outfit, asking her why she was wearing it. Tesla explained that it was a request from the sage. Tesla then presented the request to both Tsubaki and Shale, which only made the two feel embarrassed and enraged upon realizing that the sage only wanted them to dress erotically. Shale still doubts whether the sage could really be trusted, after following its request to wear a more lucrative dress. Tesla informs the two that, according to Lars, the sage is supposed to be a friend of Rodri's. Making things more suspicious about the sage, Tesla then informs the two that Lars had already asked Rodri about the sage for them. Pointing to a rundown house, Tesla believes that they have finally arrived. Meanwhile, Lars met up with Rodri, who was shocked when Lars wanted to know about Trismegistus. Since Lars thought that Rodri and Trismegistus were friends, Rodri immediately straightened the information out for Lars, stating that she was not a friend of Trismegistus. Rodri shares a story with Lars, of a time when both Rodri and Trismegistus trained together in order to become sages. When Rodri asks Lars why he suddenly asked about Trismegistus, Lars explains that he accepted a request from Trismegistus and wanted to know what kind of person he is. Rodri then informs Lars that a conversation with Trismegistus would go smoothly if he were to bring the girls and have them wear something revealing. Changing the topic, Rodri advises Lars to be ready, stating that Trismegistus is not the kind of person to post a half-hearted request to the guild. Observing Pasuke, Rodri asks Lars about the bird's condition, if it is in good health. Lars smiles and tells Rodri that it is. Back with Tesla and the others, Shale was starting to doubt whether the map actually came from the guild, as she was certain that the rundown house was something that couldn't be trusted. Unbeknownst to the three, the sage Trismegistus was already observing their legs. The three had their souls jump out when Trismegistus shouted at them, telling them that they passed. Inviting the three into his rabbit hole of a home, Trismegistus asked them to enter. When Trismegistus introduces himself, Shale laughs as she did not believe Trismegistus, mocking the sage for wearing a tattered robe. After calling Shale a rude person, Trismegistus did not want to continue arguing and asked for the three to enter. To their surprise, the inside of the house was different from what was outside. Trismegistus explains that he used spatial magic for the room and used some farsight magic to project a different view from outside. Knowing that such magic is complex and difficult to perform, Shale asks Trismegistus how he is able to do it so easily. The old man reminds Shale once again that he is the sage and that such magic for him is simple. Lars had an unexpected visit from Bonnard. Lars was surprised, as he had never seen Bonnard so worked up before. Bonnard explains that they received word that someone spotted a giant beast around the mountains near the village of Narshib. Though Bonnard still does not have the facts, he is certain that the Land Titan has been revived. When Lars asks more about the Titan, Bonnard tells Lars that the Land Titan is considered as one of the Calamity God beasts that the first sage sealed away. Due to the danger it posed, the Calamity God was separated into three beasts: the Land Titan, Sky Titan, and Sea Titan. The Titan's job was to protect the seal of the Calamity God. Assuming that the beast has woken up, Bonnard believes that the seal has broken. Lars was shocked when Bonnard informed him that Sistina had already heard of the news and immediately went ahead to investigate the area. After instructing the maid to put Pasuke in his room, Lars then went inside the carriage. Meanwhile, Sistina was busy fighting off multiple monsters on her own. Sistina thought that the situation had gotten worse, as small monsters were not supposed to be ferocious. Sistina assumes that something terrifying is making the small monsters act out and be aggressive. Seeing a small monster below her, Sistina thought about how cute it was. However, when she tried to touch it, Sistina realized her mistake and ended up losing consciousness. With the small monster morphing into something scary and about to devour Sistina, its feast was interrupted by another monster's loud stomping. Stopping near a cliff, Lars was informed by Bonnard that he couldn't move much further. Before leaving, Lars asked Bonnard to inform Tesla about the Titans. Lars forgot the address of the sage, but after informing Bonnard that the girls were meeting Trismegistus, Bonnard informs him that he already knows of the sage's residence. Surprised by the loud thud, Lars was shocked to see the mountain moving, wondering if it was the Land Titan. As Lars leaves and heads towards the Land Titan, Bonnard requests Lars to save Sistina. As Sistina is lying unconscious on the Land Titan's path, she is fortunately saved by Lars, who grabbed her just in time. When Sistina woke up, she was puzzled after seeing Lars, thinking that she may be dreaming. When Lars finally landed and hid in a safer spot, Sistina then realized that she was not dreaming and could not contain her emotions. Gaining back her senses, Sistina informs Lars that the Titan is way bigger than she had expected, which Lars also agrees with and is not sure how to deal with it. Since the Land Titan is being worshipped as their mountain god, Sistina wonders if they should seal it again instead of fighting it. Lars believes that the Land Titan did not break the seal on its own, and was certain that everything has been orchestrated by a professional mage. Lars informs Sistina that they do not have other options but to fight the Land Titan. Lars initiated the fight, shooting his fireballs at the monster. However, from what Lars could see, the Land Titan has a thick exterior, making his attacks useless. Lars guessed that the monster's weakness may be its speed. He then ran towards the monster's face, hitting it with his fire blow. However, it only repelled his attack. To Lars's surprise, the Land Titan suddenly opened its mouth, sucking him inside. Sistina was in shock, unable to comprehend that Lars was eaten by the Land Titan. Meanwhile, Lars reached the Land Titan's stomach. Hearing a voice asking if he was sent to help her, Lars turned and saw a small woman with wings, making Lars wonder if she was a monster. The woman found Lars's magic to be strange, as it was different compared to the other black mages. Surprised, Lars thought that the woman might be one of the familiars mentioned in the spellbooks. The familiar thought that the black mages didn't trust her to do the task on her own and sent Lars to help her out. Playing along, Lars told the familiar that he had just recently joined and was told to go out and learn something. The familiar did not mind that a newbie was sent to help her and proceeded to introduce herself as Polo Rovdo Grism, or Poloro. When Lars greeted Poloro nicely, the familiar suddenly hugged Lars's head, telling him that he was different from the others. When Poloro asked Lars if he knew about the seal of the Calamity, Lars responded that the seal was one of the 3 seals used to seal away the Calamity. Raising his hand, Lars asked Poloro what would happen if the seals were broken. Peloro had no clue as to what might happen, but she believed that the path leading to the monster world would be connected. Since Peloro was born in the world, she didn't know much about the monster world. Peloro was certain that breaking the seals would mean that something from the monster world would find its way to their world. Lars then realized that when all the seals were broken, more monsters like Formito would break into their world and cause more harm. When Peloro found the thought of monsters roaming into the world exciting, Lars felt horrified as he could tell that Peloro was not joking. Not wanting such a disastrous event to happen, Lars asked Peloro if it was even possible to break the seal. Waving her finger, Peloro told Lars that her whole existence after being summoned by the Black Mages was to aid them in breaking the seals. Since the task was not meant for humans to do, Peloro advised Lars to observe. Pulling out a cursed stone from her mouth, Peloro told Lars that they would be using it to break the seal. Back at Trismegistus's home, the sage asked the ladies to sit down so they could dive into matters. As Trismegistus was about to explain from the beginning, he ended up nodding off, only to wake up moments later. Trismegistus shared with the three that the quest would be to investigate the Tree of Truth and collect a sample of its sap. From what Tesla knew, the Tree of Truth was located deep within a large forest. Shale had also heard that many adventurers had gone missing after entering the said forest, making it more dangerous. Trismegistus shared with the ladies that deep within the forest was the land of the elves, and their tree god was enshrined within it. A certain problem the adventurers would encounter was the elves themselves, as they were known to be notoriously hard to please. Trismegistus advised them not to view the elves as equals to humans. Tesla pointed out that such a request was dangerous even for those who were S ranks. Trismegistus responded that this was the reason why he limited the request to just S ranks, due to its high difficulty. Since Tesla and the others were party members of Lars, Trismegistus wished for them to accept his request. Sensing a presence outside of his home, Trismegistus cast a ball of energy and revealed that the visitor was none other than Bonnard. Trismegistus then ordered Shale to greet Bonnard. Back to Peloro and Lars. Peloro shared with Lars how the Black Mages took a curse that was illegal in the human world and inserted it into her body so that it would grow into a cursed stone. Though Peloro disliked such methods, she still did not want to have the effort wasted. When Peloro was about to use the cursed stone to break the seal, she was suddenly grabbed by Lars. Lars proposed to Peloro that they break the cursed stone, which puzzled Peloro, who asked Lars if he was serious. When Lars was about to touch the cursed stone, it reacted violently, releasing a dangerous aura and burning Lars's hand. Peloro told Lars that there was a reason why the task was not something a human could do, as only magical beasts like her were able to touch the cursed stone. Peloro realized that Lars had lied about being a black mage and immediately threw the cursed stone onto the Calamity Seal. With the Calamity Seal being corrupted leading to its door opening, a monster's arm appeared from the seal, which eventually let out a huge monster. Lars immediately took action, casting his magic sword and attacking the monster. Peloro complimented Lars's attack. However, Peloro told Lars that his attack wouldn't be enough, as nothing could stop the monster now. Sistina was in shock after seeing an ominous aura coming out of the Land Titan, which made her think that Lars was fighting the Land Titan within its body. Lars was doing his best as more monsters were coming out of the Calamity Seal. While trying to land an attack on Peloro, he forgot that he was inside the Land Titan's body, which made it more difficult for him to fight. With another monster coming out of the seal, Lars simultaneously released magic attacks from opposite sides, hitting both the monster and Peloro. Using a steam bomb, Lars created more time for himself to deal with the Calamity Seal. With his magic sword, Lars cut the cursed stone in half, fixing the Calamity Seal and stopping the monsters from coming out. Exhausted from the fight, Lars heard the Land Titan's voice, thanking him. The Land Titan did not expect that his slumber would be disturbed by the Black Mages, causing him to lose himself in the process and go on a rampage. The Land Titan felt shame, as he was worshipped by the people he was about to destroy. The Land Titan advised Lars to make his way back to the entrance, as the Land Titan was about to seal its body from the Calamity once again. Sistina shivered as she witnessed the Land Titan turning into stone. Lars was shocked when he saw Shale and the others on her boat. Seeing Tesla's outfit, Lars turned away and asked why she was wearing such provocative clothing. After finding out that Lars was in trouble, the girls had immediately gone to his aid. Noticing the awful smell, Lars explained that it was from inside the Land Titan's stomach. Lars added that if it weren't for him being sucked inside, he wouldn't have been able to protect the Calamity Seal. Angered by Lars's reckless action, Tesla reminded Lars that if he went off by himself, they wouldn't be able to do anything to help him. Before Tesla could approach Lars, she was bested by Sistina, who hugged Lars first and welcomed him back. Taking a bath, Lars was surprised when his maid suddenly entered the bath and offered to rinse his back. The maid left the bath not long after Lars refused the offer. While Tesla was lost in her thoughts, Shale commented on how Sistina just takes something she wants, asking Tesla if it even bothered her. Sistina then approached the three, asking them if she could join. When Shale asked Sistina what she thought about Lars, she pointed out how Sistina still chose to hug Lars even though he smelled horrible. Embarrassed at first, Sistina then revealed to everyone that she had fallen in love with Lars. The ladies were shocked as they did not expect that Sistina would actually share her true feelings. During the fight, Sistina realized that her contribution was always being saved by Lars, which made her decide that she would want to be a woman who was good enough to fight alongside Lars. Directing the question back to the others, Tesla was speechless as she silently admitted that she didn't have what Sistina had, feeling jealous of her confidence and how cool she was. Shale shared how she wanted to be as strong as Lars. Tsubaki commented that she didn't know how to close the gap between her and Lars, even though they were in the same party. Donning his newly cleaned cape, Lars received a visit from Bonnard, who expressed his gratitude for Lars coming a long way to help Sistina. Since Duke Bellotto was currently attending a court in the capital, Bonnard came on behalf of the Duke. As a gesture of goodwill, Bonnard returned something to Lars. To Lars's surprise, he did not expect to see Peloro once again. Bonnard expressed how surprised he was when he learned that Lars had found and brought a familiar back from the Land Titan's stomach. During the events, Lars had caught Peloro inside the Land Titan's stomach. Since Peloro had binding magic cast on her, Bonnard was planning to take her to a high-level mage and ask them to use magic in order to make Peloro Lars's servant. Surprised by the news, Lars asked Bonnard how that would work. Bonnard told Lars that he was not sure either, but believed that by using a piece of Lars's body, they could create a spell that wouldn't allow Peloro to go against Lars's orders. Lars thought about the offer and realized that it would make him no different from the black mages who summoned Peloro in the first place. As for Peloro, she did not care who she would serve, as long as she could eat delicious food. Returning to the Magic Guild, Lars and the others were then greeted by Holly, who told them how she had heard of all their achievements. When Tsubaki mentioned that Lars did all the hard work, Holly informed them that Lars's work ethic had been a common topic among the higher-ups. Including the praise he received from Duke Bellotto, Holly shared that the higher-ups were thinking of making Lars an A-rank adventurer. Shale was shocked and told Lars that if he were to become an A-rank now, he would be the fastest mage to ever achieve it in the guild's history. Since the news would soon be announced, Holly was looking forward to Lars's new adventure. An old man appeared, calling Lars's attention and telling him that the fight against the Land Titan was very impressive. When Lars asked the man's identity, the man laughed at not being recognized and told everyone that he was Trismegistus. Shocked, Lars immediately apologized for not recognizing the sage. When Shale asked the sage what happened to his hood, Trismegistus responded that he came to speak to the guildmaster and changed to a more suitable appearance. After confirming that the guildmaster was in his office, Trismegistus told Holly that there was no need for her to call him, as he would call the guildmaster himself. Trismegistus then shared with Lars that the princess wanted to meet him and suggested that he visit the castle if he was interested. Before leaving, Trismegistus reminded them of his request. Puzzled as to how Lars could speak so casually to the sage, Holly almost forgot to tell Lars something important. Holly informed the group of a recent incident that involved an assault on a mage. When Tsubaki asked for more details, Holly was unable to provide more since there were no eyewitnesses, and that even the Magic Guild hadn't been able to find any conclusive evidence. The incident caused 2 A-rank mages to lose their lives from unnatural causes, and several mages who had gone missing were believed to be related to the incident. Holly advised the group to take extra care and watch out for themselves. Walking down the streets, Lars realized that it had been a while since he went out to buy dinner. While eating a fruit, Lars asked Peloro to put the pepper down. However, Peloro had already fallen in love with the pepper, refusing to let it go and continuing to chomp it down. Through his conversation with Peloro, Lars realized that humans and magical beasts had different senses of taste. Sensing a presence nearby, Lars immediately ran towards a narrow path and saw a person donning a black robe killing a mage. Since Lars accidentally spoke of what Holly had told him earlier, the man realized that Lars was also a mage and attempted to attack him. The man was so fast that it caught Lars off guard. Upon closer look, Lars realized that he was facing a woman. Casting his magic sword, Lars blocked the attack. Not realizing that Lars was gone, Peloro finally let go of the pepper and saw the bag Lars was holding. Meanwhile, the assassin praised Lars for putting up a good fight, surprising her for blocking all of her attacks with just a magic sword. When Lars thanked the assassin for the compliment, the assassin told Lars not to misunderstand her, and explained that she praised only his magic, but his sword skills were a different matter. With Lars's attack missing, the assassin took the opportunity and landed a hit on Lars's face. As the assassin was about to land another attack, Lars immediately came up with a counter, casting a fire twister beneath the assassin's feet. Lars's spell was powerful enough to burn the black cloak, revealing the assassin to be an elf. Lars was not expecting the assassin to be a dark elf. Looking at Lars's expression, the assassin commented on how Lars looked like he had seen a ghost, sporting the same expression as everyone else who had seen her true face. Raising her blade, the assassin boldly told Lars that no one has ever seen her face twice after facing her the first time. Their fight was interrupted when the guards finally came and asked what was going on. When the assassin left, the guard immediately asked Lars what had happened, as they had also seen a dead mage's body. Back in the villa, Peloro was exhausted from carrying Lars's bag. When the three ladies saw Peloro, they immediately found her cute and assumed that the maid had just gotten smaller. Inspecting parts of Peloro's body, they were amazed to learn that all of it was real. Peloro explains that she is not a maid and introduces herself as a powerful demon. However, the ladies were not afraid of her and continued to investigate the bag that Peloro was carrying. Upon checking that they were all food that they enjoyed, the ladies assumed that Peloro brought it for them. However, Peloro only became angry as she thought that the ladies were stealing food from Lars. Peloro then remembered that the ladies were members of Lars's party, asking them if it was fine for them to be partying while Lars may have already been attacked by the assassin who is hunting mages. The ladies were not worried, as they were certain that Lars would be fine and could take care of himself. Peloro agrees with the ladies. However, she pointed out that Lars may have difficulty in fighting an assailant who is skilled with a knife. The three ladies immediately stopped what they were doing when Peloro told them that Lars and she had run into the assailant after killing an A-rank mage. Tesla came to her senses and left the room. Tsubaki followed after, telling Shale to come with her. Back at the crime scene, the guards were now covering up the dead body of the mage while Lars was still waiting to be questioned. During his fight with the assassin, Lars realized that he needed to learn some healing spells, and that he also needed to get better at wielding swords. Out of nowhere, a mysterious person approached Lars and healed his injured face. Lars was surprised when the mysterious person commented on how lucky Lars was that the knife used was not poisoned, making the mysterious person believe that there was still good left in the assassin. The mysterious person revealed that she had seen Lars's fight with the assassin and realized that Lars could be trusted. It was revealed that the assassin was Luca, and the mysterious person pleaded for Lars to stop her. After thanking his healer, Lars then asked what her relationship with the mage killer was, also asking for her identity. Before Lars could get an answer, they were interrupted by the arrival of Tesla and the others. Tesla immediately hugged Lars, asking him if he was okay. Lars then reassured everyone that he was fine and that they didn't have to worry. Tesla pointed out that what caused them to worry was Lars's enemy, as they had learned that the assassin was really good. Lars mentioned that fighting the assassin made him really terrified, especially when Luca cut his face. The injury made Lars regret that he had not asked Tsubaki to teach him more sword skills. Tesla was puzzled as Lars's new injury seemed to have already healed. Lars explained that it was all thanks to his healer. After introducing himself and his party members, Lars asked for the mysterious person's name. To Lars's surprise, his healer removed her cover and revealed herself to be a dark elf as well. She then introduced herself as Claria, an informant. Upon realizing that they were also talking to a dark elf, Tsubaki immediately raised her weapon, asking for an explanation. Distressed, Shale thought that all dark elves had died out in a civil war. Tesla stepped in front of Lars, telling him that dark elves are a race of assassins. When Tesla asked Claria what she wanted from Lars, Claria pleaded for the group to listen to her request. Claria confirmed that their race was once known as creatures of darkness, but it had been long since they had left their former profession of being assassins and were now acting as informants for nobles. 20 years had passed when Claria learned that some elves were not satisfied with their current situation and disappeared from their ranks. When Claria learned that the recent attacks were orchestrated by a dark elf, she immediately thought that it was her old friend Luca. Claria knew Luca as a nice girl, but she knew that the Luca she once knew was gone after learning that Luca had joined a group of mage killers and gained a deep hatred for mages. Claria was certain that the group was behind all of the assassinations. Claria admitted that what she was about to ask was something ridiculous, not just for her but also for Luca. With tears in her eyes, Claria asked for Lars and his group to stop her friend Luca. Wanting to get her old friend back, it did not matter to Claria if Lars brought Luca back as a corpse. She just wanted Luca back. Meanwhile, a woman drinking wine inside a castle was enjoying the view of the moon. Contemplating what to do, Lars was certain that he could not defeat Luca even if he gave everything he had. Lars then became distracted when Tesla called his name and showed him her formal dress. After complimenting Tesla's look, Lars was then asked to help with Tesla's lace. The day after everyone returned to the mansion, a messenger from the palace came to inform them that the princess wanted to meet them. Some of the other girls had mixed feelings about the dresses they were wearing, like Tsubaki, who doubted that the dress she was wearing was formal enough. Lars still could not believe that they had received an invitation from the princess herself. Shale was certain that it was all thanks to Trismegistus. Sistina then informed the group that their carriage was now ready. Seeing their outfits, Sistina realized she had forgotten to mention a small piece of information. She informed the group that their meeting with the princess was top secret and they must wear their normal attire. The The news shocked and angered Shale. Arriving at the home of the princess, the group was then greeted by a woman who proceeded to check them individually with a magic tool. When Shale realized what the woman was doing, she became irritated, as it led her to believe that they did not trust them. The woman apologized and explained that everything was standard procedure. The group was then guided inside the home and asked to step inside a circle, informing them that it would lead them to the princess's room. Observing the interior of the home, Tsubaki thought that the princess was a strange person for living in such a strange place. Shale immediately recognized the circle as a floating tile, and believed that it used the same principle as the guild. To everyone's shock, they traveled below the home instead of going up. The woman panicked, as she no longer knew where they were or why they had gone down. As the other girls started to see a different version of the woman, Lars tried to calm everyone down. Out of nowhere, a woman who had already been present before the group told them that she did not like people who got worked up over nothing. With the others shocked to see the woman behind them, only the woman recognized the other, revealing her to be the princess. When the princess asked where they were, she revealed that they were inside a limestone cave that used to be a treasure room. The princess then greeted Lars and the others, welcoming them to the palace and introducing herself as Melise Artonica, the princess. Melise explained that she had heard of an intruder and went to check it out. However, she later realized that there might have been a malfunction with the floor, as she knew there was a lock on the tile that allowed only a select few to enter. Lars thanked the princess for the invitation and asked her for the reason why she had called them. The princess revealed that she had intentionally invited the group to her tea room. However, with the situation changing, she apologized to Lars and the others for bringing them to the cave instead. After hearing many things from Trismegistus, Princess Melise revealed that she had a premonition that Lars and his party would soon face great misfortune. When Lars asked for more details about the princess's premonition, Princess Melise revealed her left eye, which was a different color. Tesla immediately recognized it as the Devil's Eye, which the princess confirmed. Princess Melise explained that because of the Devil's Eye, she could see the future. The news came as a shock to both Tsubaki and Shale, who immediately thought that the princess possessed the power of clairvoyance. Princess Melise told the ladies that clairvoyance was an exaggeration and explained that her power was more like an overly sensitive intuition. Lars sympathized with the princess, as he also understood how difficult it must be to always see the future of everyone around her. Princess Melise then clarified her revelation, explaining that she didn't exactly know what would happen, but simply had a feeling that something bad was going to occur. Princess Melise's premonitions were very vague, and she was not certain how Lars and the others would become involved in the misfortune. As Lars tried to calm the others again, the princess shared something that Trismegistus had once told her, that there existed a magic capable of seeing through people's lies. The princess had asked the sage to make time for her because she wanted to try the magic out. The princess had been hoping Lars and the others would demonstrate their abilities during their meeting. However, things had now changed, as Princess Melise revealed that it had been a week since Trismegistus was last seen, and his whereabouts were unknown. 1 week before Trismegistus's disappearance, he had encountered Luca, who had been waiting for him. The sage thought he might be losing his memory, as he did not recall making any plans to meet Luca. Luca suddenly agreed to a date with Trismegistus and suggested a dark, cramped dungeon. From their conversation, Trismegistus quickly realized that Luca was planning to take him hostage. Drawing her blade, Luca revealed that, according to her orders, she was not supposed to hurt the sage. However, she warned that whether or not she followed that request depended on whether the sage cooperated and followed her quietly. Back in his home, Lars was thinking that the sage might have been taken out of the country. The princess requested that Lars and his group discover Trismegistus's whereabouts and meet with her afterward. Once Lars and the others fulfilled the request, the princess promised to give them presents, which she was certain the group would find very useful. It had been 3 days since Lars and his party met with the princess. The group decided to split up and search for clues concerning both of their requests. Despite speaking to many people, no one had seen either the dark elf Luca or the sage. Even with Lars's magic detection practically covering the whole country, he still could not detect the whereabouts of the sage. Hearing a knocking sound at his window, Lars opened it and was shocked to see Claria. When Claria requested to enter his room, Lars informed her beforehand that the room was cramped. Lars was surprised and told Claria he did not expect her to be able to climb such a way. Claria felt embarrassed and explained that, as an informant, they sometimes had to do a bit of espionage. When Lars asked for the reason behind Claria's unexpected visit, she revealed that they had already found Luca and the mage killer's hideout. One of the culprits had sold the information to one of Claria's colleagues. Although Claria was disappointed that the culprit was not Luca, she then pointed out to Lars that if the mage killers found out someone had ratted them out, they would immediately kill that person. Since someone was risking their life by selling the information, Claria believed that it made the source more reliable. When Lars asked about the whereabouts, Claria revealed that it was in the ancient city of Mist, the old capital from 1,000 years ago. The place was currently just a collection of ruins surrounded by miasma-laced fog that affected magic abilities. Lars was shocked as it sounded to him like the perfect place to imprison a kidnapped mage. Pisuke approached Claria, and she found it very cute. Claria thought that Pisuke was a mysterious creature, as she sensed that it had a holy ability or something similar. Lars and his party immediately took action and arrived at the ancient city of Mist. Seeing the thickness of the fog for themselves, the group did not expect that such a place could exist near the capital. Since it was a first for everyone to visit the city of Mist, Tsubaki asked Lars if the information Claria shared was correct, expressing how she still had difficulty trusting a dark elf. Lars understood the girl's worries, admitting the possibility that Claria might have been fed false information. However, Lars still believed that Claria would not lead them astray on purpose. From the warmth he felt when Claria healed him, Lars believed she was a good person. The ladies became angry with Lars for trusting someone with what they saw as shallow reasoning. Meanwhile, Trismegistus was being led by Luca to a room, advising the sage not to cast any magic, as she had set a trap that would activate if a large amount of magic was sensed. Removing the sage's hood, Luca commented that they would look perfect for each other if Trismegistus had been much younger. Luca then left the sage locked up in the trapped room. After finding a clue that confirms they are in the ancient city of the Mist, Shale tells Lars that the mage killer's hideout is most likely beneath the arena, as it is the only possible place to imprison a high-ranking mage. Due to the special characteristics of the Mist, it renders mages unable to use magic. However, Tesla noticed that such an effect does not appear inside the prison. Upon learning that he can use magic, Lars and the others were surprised when they were suddenly surrounded by armored men. Meanwhile, Trismegistus tries to engage in a conversation with Luca, asking for her name. After learning Luca's name, the sage then asks her the reason why he is locked up. With a smug look on her face, Luca revealed that she was paid by other mages to bring the sage into the city of the Mist and imprison him. From their brief conversation, Trismegistus learned that a group of mages had orchestrated his capture. Luca becomes enraged when Trismegistus tells her that her selfishness had truly blinded her after being used by mere mages. Suddenly, hearing a slamming sound, Trismegistus senses a familiar magical presence and informs Luca that his friends have arrived. The sage tells Luca that the owner of the magical power he felt is someone who is on their way to becoming an S-rank mage. Trismegistus believes that if things had turned out differently, Luca would have walked the same path as that person. Luca mocks Trismegistus, asking him if talking a lot is one of the requirements for being a sage. Meanwhile, Tsubaki and the others are occupied with dealing with the armored men. However, upon further investigation, the group discovers that they are only fighting the armor. Shale believes that the armors are being controlled by manipulation magic. Seeing that their enemies just keep returning, making it impossible to defeat them all, Tesla suggests to Lars that they try to rush past the enemy and move forward. Following Tesla's instructions, Lars did not hesitate to use his magic and blew the armors to smithereens. Tsubaki was happy to see their problem solved so easily, expressing that she would rather test her blade against Luca's skill than against the armors. After Tesla created a barrier, the group's journey proceeded smoothly, and they found a more secure room. To everyone's surprise, Luca was already in the room waiting for them. After hearing Tsubaki's comment, Luca suggested that they try challenging her instead. Recognizing Lars immediately, Luca asks about the status of the wound she inflicted. Lars felt somewhat embarrassed and told Luca that their ages weren't that far apart, and that she shouldn't treat him as a child. When Lars mentions Luca's name, her cheerful expression vanishes and she asks Lars how he knew her name. After revealing that it was Claria who told Lars her name, Lars informs Luca that Claria is worried about her and wants her to stop. The revelation angered Luca even more, causing her to curse all mages. Finding the conversation boring, Luca suggests they just skip directly to fighting. Lars tries to convince Luca, however she was no longer listening and instead initiated the fight. Moving closer, Luca threatens Lars, ordering him never to mention Claria to her again. Tesla tugs at Shale's robe, telling her that they need to locate the sage and leave the fighting to Lars and Tsubaki. Unbeknownst to the girls, Trismegistus had already freed himself on his own by kicking the door down. Trismegistus had had enough of playing along and finally decided to teach Luca a lesson. Although the sage was threatened by a trap that detects magic, he easily solved the problem by deactivating the trap first. While looking for the exit, Trismegistus accidentally bumped into Tesla and Shale. The sage scared the two by putting his arms around them from behind. Upon realizing that it was the sage who had scared them, Shale then informed Trismegistus that the princess had ordered them to find him. Revealing that he had been kidnapped by Luca, Trismegistus jokingly told the girls that the ladies just couldn't resist him. Since he had already located his saviors, Trismegistus suggested they make short work of the place. Upon learning from the two that Lars and Tsubaki were currently facing Luca, Trismegistus asked a favor of them. The sage informed the two that the entire place was rigged with traps that would only activate when strong magic was used. Tesla and Shale's tasks were to deactivate the traps and free the other sages locked up in the place. After accepting his orders, Trismegistus hugged the girls, telling them that, with his old age, he tended to worry a lot and asked them to be careful. Back in the fight, Luca praised Lars, saying she could see that he had improved. Lars felt confident that he would not lose as he had his friends with him. Knowing that a skilled swordsman like Tsubaki was backing him up, Lars felt like he could even take on the world. Luca called Lars out for talking big, pointing out that he was only using his magic to enhance his abilities. Luca did not blame Lars for resorting to such a tactic, as she believed that it was simply what mages do. Luca then revealed a potion and informed the two that the potion would help make things more fun. Trismegistus arrived just in time as Luca drank the potion. After drinking the potion, Lars and Tsubaki were shocked to see Luca on the ground, gasping for air. However, after a few moments, Luca stood up, now radiating a terrifying aura that even Tsubaki had to step in to handle. Tsubaki and Luca duked it out with their weapons, but Tsubaki immediately noticed that she was at a disadvantage, with Luca already displaying her strength using just one hand. Increasing her pace, Luca successfully landed an attack on Tsubaki, cutting Tsubaki's hair in the process. Seeing Tsubaki breathing heavily, Lars decided to help out. However, he only got injured. Tsubaki suggested to Lars that he should not engage, as Lars was no match for Luca in his current state. Lars was still determined to fight Luca, planning on fighting the assassin in a different way. No longer using his magic sword, Lars started casting magic onto Luca. However, it only proved useless against her. Believing that Lars was looking down on her by using weak magic, Luca charged in and tried to land a critical blow. Both Tsubaki and Lars tried to counter Luca's attack. To their surprise, Luca was able to block both of their attacks. Lars once again tried to convince Luca to stop the fight, as he promised to bring her back to Claria. Luca became even more enraged after hearing Claria's name again. Trismegistus joined the fight, stopping Luca's attack with his magic. Seeing Luca unable to bear the pain, both Tsubaki and Lars were puzzled when they saw that it was the great sage who was causing it. Trismegistus explains to Lars how he is using magic to emit a high-pitched noise that humans can't hear. However, the noise would be harmful to species like the Dark Elves, who have sensitive hearing. Lars was surprised, as he had never thought of using sound magic as an offensive attack. After informing Lars that his magic attack would cause permanent damage to the likes of Luca, Trismegistus asks the young mage if he still wanted to fight Luca without hurting her. Lars thought that the great sage's attack was a bit too much. However, he still appreciated the help. Lars then asks Trismegistus to stop, believing that the damage was already enough. Accepting Lars's request, Trismegistus stopped his magic and left the rest to Lars's decision. Lars asks the great sage why he let himself get captured when it was clear that he could defeat Luca easily. Trismegistus believes that Lars could have defeated Luca as well, if his goal was only to stop her. However, the great sage, who had lived a long and lonely life, was attracted to Luca's burning emotion after facing her. After deactivating the trap, Shale then gave Tesla the signal to use her magic. Tesla immediately used her magic to summon demons and fought the mage killers. The assassins were in shock at how Tesla was able to use summoning magic and why their traps did not activate. Shale told the assassins that she had sealed up all of the traps on their floor, allowing the mages in the area to freely use magic. With the result being clear, Shale ordered the mage killers to tie themselves up with a rope. Upon checking the prison, Tesla did not expect that she would see Asfort locked up. Asfort explained that he was only conducting an undercover investigation to learn more about the mage killers. Asfort was shocked when Tesla turned away, asking her where she was going. Tesla informs the captured mages that the traps have been deactivated, which means that they could use their magic to free themselves. Back with Lars and the others, Lars told the great sage that he understands what he is trying to point out. Lars wonders why Luca has to suffer such a fate, as he believes that Luca would have truly excelled if she had gone to a top-class adventurer's guild. Unbeknownst to Lars, Luca heard all of his comments. Luca asks Lars what made him think that he knows anything about the Dark Elves to make such a comment. Trying to get back up, Luca stated how humans have always tried to eliminate those who are different from them. Luca tried imitating Claria, who was always good at everything, even blending with the humans. However, no human would accept an outsider like Luca, who lacked affection and relied on strength as her only skill. Lars could not deny Luca's words, not wanting to cause more pain to the Dark Elf. Lars then noticed Asfort trying to sneak an attack from behind and immediately stopped him by catching his hand. Shocked, Asfort asked Lars what he was doing, calling Lars a C rank and ordering him to step out of the way. When Lars asked the same question, Asphalt, still holding a grudge, told Lars that Luca had tried to kill him. Announcing that the fight was over, Lars merely used a portion of his magic to push Asphalt back, blowing his magic away. Before Asphalt could get back up, he was stopped by Trismegistus, who reminded the bald mage how an S-rank mage should behave. While everyone was focused on Asphalt, they did not notice that Luca had already taken Lars as her hostage. Lars informed Luca that he wanted her to keep on living and to choose a different path. Grabbing onto Luca's blade, Lars ignored the pain and told Luca that Claria was waiting for her return. Luca broke down, finally admitting defeat, and told Lars that he was exactly like Claria, which annoyed her. Trismegistus then began his interrogation using magic. However, he was not able to extract the name of the person who had orchestrated the killings and the kidnapping of mages. Observing Trismegistus's interrogation skills, Tsubaki remembered how the princess had told them about magic that could see through people's lies. The great sage shared with the two how he had figured the magic out and thought that it was a good time to test the skill. While Luca was under the influence of magic, Lars asked Trismegistus if he could also ask Luca a question. Lars asked Luca for her honest opinion about Claria. Luca told Lars that she was not lying, revealing that she had never gotten along with Claria. Luca felt frustrated since Claria was always against everything she ever did, acting all high and mighty just because she was older. While Luca was venting her frustrations, she did not expect that Claria was listening. Claria apologized to Luca for hurting her feelings. After slapping Luca, the two dark elves made up. When everyone regrouped, Shale was surprised to see Tsubaki in rough shape. However, Tsubaki pointed out to Shale that she had not been injured at all. Lars praised Tsubaki for handling all of Luca's attacks so gracefully. As a witness to how Lars and Tsubaki had fought a hard battle, Trismegistus then asked the two to report the situation to the Magic Guild themselves, which Lars accepted. For matters involving Luca, the great sage told Lars and the others that he would directly discuss them with the guildmaster and determine what punishment should be given to Luca. Trismegistus did not sugarcoat Luca's fate, as he was certain that her crimes would result in the death penalty. Though he was uncertain whether he could get Luca out of danger, the great sage promised to use his full power to sway the decision. Back in the princess's castle, the woman was surprised when Princess Melise suddenly started laughing vulgarly. Princess Melise apologized and explained that she had a good time in her dream. The woman immediately assumed that the princess had been dreaming of being alone with Lars. Princess Melise then informed her servant, Welchie, that Lars amused her. For someone born with devil eyes like her, Princess Melise thought that Lars might be the only person who could bring excitement into her life. With the great sage finally safe and back, Princess Melise believes that whatever the mastermind behind the Black Mage's motivation is, it has something to do with Trismegistus. The great sage agrees with the princess and also believes that the Black Mages are trying to disrupt the Council of Sages. The princess was puzzled as to why the Black Mages would want to disrupt the council that establishes the guild's rules. Trismegistus then shared a secret with those present, telling them that even the queen does not know of it. Trismegistus revealed that the Congress of Sages is in possession of an ancient weapon of unimaginable power, keeping it to deter future attacks against them. Princess Melise became even more worried after hearing such disturbing news. The activation of the weapon would require a majority vote from the council, including Trismegistus. There are a total of 7 mages who can make the decision, and any one of them can prevent 4 votes, completely removing the council's ability to take action, including the usage of the ancient weapon. When Lars asked if the Black Mages had already attempted to go after the other sages who hold the votes, Trismegistus believed that it was likely possible. In order to be certain, Trismegistus planned to call the council to session at once. Changing the topic, Trismegistus informed Lars that his gift from the princess was behind the door in front of them. According to the reports that Princess Melise had learned, it had been several millennia since the door was last opened. Shale became excited and asked the princess if there was gold on the other side. Princess Melise was disappointed in Shale for revealing her true self as a materialistic person. When the great sage finally opened the door, everyone became excited. Tesla noticed the princess staring at Lars and then looking at her, grinning. As everyone entered the cave, Shale immediately asked where the treasure was. Trismegistus then responded to Shale, pointing to the small bag in front of them as the treasure. Shale could not believe that such a small bag was the treasure, leading her to believe that the great sage must be joking. Upon picking up the bag, Shale commented that it was just a tiny old sack. She immediately dropped the bag when Trismegistus informed her that the old sack held such high value that it could even be exchanged for a small country. Princess Melise then informed everyone that the old sack was called the Bag of Nothingness, and suggested that they put their hands inside to understand why it was worth so much. Both Shale and Tsubaki immediately refused to participate, leaving it all up to Lars. When Lars put his hand in the bag, he was surprised and immediately withdrew it. When the two ladies came to inspect the bag, they realized that there was so much space inside. Trismegistus then explained that the interior of the bag of nothingness exists in a different dimension, allowing it to hold anything. Shale was amazed, finally believing that the bag was a legendary artifact. Lars asks Trismegistus if the Black Mages have messed with the seal of the air and sea titans like they did with the land titan, since they will be dealing with great misfortune based on what the princess had envisioned. Lars at least wanted them to be on their team. Trismegistus was delighted to see Lars already planning ahead. With the bag of nothingness in his hand, Lars asks if it is possible to use the bag to seal the calamity seals. With the topic now involving the titans and calamity seals, Trismegistus reminds them of his request about investigating the Tree of Truth, further adding that the air titan had built a nest on top of the tree. The ladies could not believe their luck, thinking how they might be able to hit two birds with one stone. The great sage informs Lars that with the bag of nothingness, he could also seal the air titan itself. However, he may encounter problems with the tree's caretakers. The elf tribe that worships the air titan would probably not be very happy if Lars were to capture their god. Tsubaki also advises Lars to be very careful, as one mistake could start a conflict against all elves. Trismegistus wishes for Lars's party to investigate the air titan's seal, making it now 2 requests coming from the great sage. After the two parties established an agreement on the requests, Princess Melise then offered everyone some tea. As everyone was being escorted out, Princess Melise approached Tesla, wanting to speak with her. As Lars's teacher, Princess Melise asks Tesla how long she has been looking after Lars. After telling the princess that it had only been a little more than half a year since she had been watching Lars, Princess Melise then started praising Lars for his amazing skills despite being a beginner. Noticing Tesla's hostility toward her, Princess Melise informs Tesla that there's no need for her to be on edge. Tesla explains how people at the top are always interested in Lars's powers, although it is also not limited to only Lars. Knowing Tesla's achievements, Princess Melise reassures Tesla that she will not ask Lars to join the royal army. However, she still couldn't deny that she is drawn to Lars, telling Tesla that she is personally interested in him. Tesla was shocked, as she found the revelation much worse than trying to recruit Lars into the royal army. Princess Melise explains how Lars always appears in her premonitions, leading her to believe that there's something in the future that would intertwine both her and Lars's fates. Realizing that the princess is just like them, a girl who would also develop feelings for someone, Tesla felt a bit annoyed as her competition for Lars's heart had grown by one more. Tesla was caught off guard and could not respond right away when Princess Melise asked about her relationship with Lars. When Tesla responded that Lars was her apprentice, Princess Melise took it as confirmation of Tesla's purely professional relationship with Lars. Based on Tesla's reaction, Princess Melise assumed that there was nothing going on between Tesla and Lars. As the group left the princess's castle, Shale asked Tesla what she and the princess had talked about. Tesla did not want to reveal the conversation, but Shale was adamant about knowing, teasing Tesla persistently. Lars apologized to the great sage for the girl's inappropriate behavior, to which Trismegistus responded that he did not mind at all. Back at the villa, Lars was spending some quality time with Pasuke, telling his pet bird how he wanted him to meet the king of birds. His time with Pasuke was disrupted when Tesla approached them. Tesla then asked Lars if she could join them, to which Lars agreed. Lars then informed Tesla that moving forward, Pasuke would be called QQ. Using what the bird says as its name, Lars admitted that it was not original but still hoped that everyone would call his pet bird QQ from now on. Tesla accepted the new name and believed that QQ was much better than Pasuke. No longer able to think of another topic, Lars realized that it had been a while since he and Tesla had been alone. Glancing at Tesla, Lars could tell that there was something different about her. Tesla informed Lars that he had grown so much, able to stand on his own feet, and had even become a fine leader. Lars felt embarrassed after hearing Tesla's praise, telling his master that he still had a long way to go. Tesla had always thought of Lars's modesty as one of his best traits. Thanks to Lars, Tesla had been able to meet Duke Bellado, the princess, and the sage. After meeting so many people in the short time she had been Lars's teacher, Tesla could not believe what kind of person she used to be, completely avoiding people and trying to do everything alone. Tesla expressed how grateful she was, saying that simply staying by Lars's side was enough to make her happy. Lars felt the same way, telling Tesla that he could never abandon his teacher. Knowing Lars's true potential, Tesla told her apprentice that he would eventually reach places where she would never be able to follow. Confused, Lars asked Tesla what she meant. As Tesla tried to leave, Lars grabbed her hand and accidentally pulled her toward him. The two embraced, but before anything more could happen, QQ stepped in, blocking the view of Tsubaki and Shale. With the group only bringing 2 double tents, Lars asked if any of the girls would like to share a tent with him. Both Shale and Tsubaki refused the offer, leaving an opportunity for Tesla to spend time with Lars. However, Tesla also refused, which left Lars all alone inside a big tent. Shale expressed that she would have shared a tent with Lars, but she felt insecure about her smell after not bathing for 2 days. Tsubaki felt the same way, not feeling comfortable spending a night in a cramped space. The night ended with the 3 girls teasing Tesla while Lars slept all alone. When morning came, the group immediately departed toward the kingdom of the elves, searching for the Tree of Truth. After 5 days of travel, they finally made it to the Great Forest. From there, the group headed deeper into the forest with the help of Tesla's golem. However, the group soon encountered a problem. Lars found it very strange as he believed they had already passed what was supposed to be the halfway point. Even though they had already ventured deep into the forest, they had yet to see the Tree of Truth, relying only on the description that it was a huge tree. Tesla used her earth magic to raise herself and see where they were currently located. Though Tesla found the view from above very nice, she couldn't see anything aside from an endless stretch of forest for miles. Shale then began to wonder if someone had put up an invisible barrier, preventing them from seeing the Tree of Truth. Tsubaki asked Shale if she was referring to the barrier of the Elf Kingdom, to which Shale responded yes. The Great Sage had told the group that the Elf Kingdom was located inside a barrier with the tree at its center, making them think that they might be standing at the edge of the barrier. Shale then pointed to a strange hole in a tree and mentioned how she had initially thought her mind was playing tricks on her. With the Tree of Truth generating an almost infinite amount of mana, the group theorized that the Elf Kingdom was using the tree as their power source to maintain the barrier. Reaching out his hand, Lars immediately felt a strong barrier in front of them and believed that even if he tried to shoot at it, it wouldn't budge. Shale asked what their plan was, since trying to break the barrier would take forever and require tons of explosives. Since it was already getting dark, they decided to camp for the night and leave the rest for tomorrow, with Lars already formulating an idea on how to get in. Tsubaki was surprised, as it was the first time she had seen Lars radiating with confidence. Shale warned Lars that if his plan was just to shoot magic wildly, then he had better prepare himself to fight the elves. Lars reassured Shale that he would be as quiet as a mouse. Unbeknownst to Lars and the others, a man was observing them from behind a tree. While Tsubaki was cleaning herself with a cloth, she stated that a shower felt like heaven after not bathing for 1 week. Shale expressed how lucky they were that Lars was once a member of the Adventurers Guild, as he was able to set up a makeshift shower for the girls. While Tesla was taking a bath, she told Lars that the water was a bit hot but felt nice. Lars apologized and immediately added cold water. Tesla stopped Lars, telling him that the temperature was just fine. Lars heard his name being called and was surprised to see Poloro on top of QQ. Poloro thought that Lars would never call her again. Poloro thought that QQ might be useful and noticed how it also wanted to come. Lars then asked Po if she could do something about the Elf Kingdom's barrier. After knocking on the barrier, Poloro told Lars that she might be able to open a hole big enough for them to walk through. Using the Calamity Seal to open the barrier, Poloro advised Lars that they needed to hurry, as the hole would not stay open very long. Lars then asked everyone if they were now ready to enter. After confirming that the girls were ready, Lars gave the go signal to Poloro to create a hole for them. With just one touch, Poloro was able to create a hole in the barrier for Lars and the others to enter. Poloro told the group that they had better get in before losing their chance. Before the barrier closed, Poloro informed Lars that this was as far as she could go and bid farewell. With the girls all piled up together, Tesla immediately noticed how the sky looked very strange, which led the group to believe that they had finally entered the kingdom of the elves. To Lars's surprise, a blade was suddenly pointed at him. A man warned Lars not to make any funny movements, stating that Lars and the others were now surrounded. Lars was shocked as he had not heard the man's footsteps. The man introduced himself as Ordos, the captain of the Knights of the Kingdom of Eldea. Ordos then asked Lars the purpose of their visit. Of all the people that Lars had met and encountered in the Adventurers Guild, he was certain that only a small fraction could even come close to Ordos's skill and intimidation. Depending on how Lars and the others answered his question, Ordos warned them that they might no longer be able to step outside the kingdom again. Out of nowhere, QQ came out, which also surprised Ordos. With the situation growing dangerous, Lars immediately grabbed QQ and hit it. After seeing QQ, Ordos immediately gave a sign and all the elves knelt before Lars. Ordos apologized and explained that QQ was the reincarnation of the Air Titan. When Ordos asked what relationship Lars had with the Air Titan's reincarnation, Lars, puzzled, responded that QQ was his pet. Ordos believed that Lars might be the person spoken of in the prophecy, and guided them to their kingdom. Seeing so many structures, Tsubaki noticed that she had not seen a single person aside from Ordos and the other knights. Ordos explained that monsters had recently started appearing inside their barrier, which caused their citizens to shut themselves inside their homes. Lars believed that the reason Ordos had been sneaking around their tent the previous night was not because he was planning to kill them, but because he was on watch for monsters entering their barrier. Ordos felt embarrassed and realized that he needed to work on his stealth skills. Ordos had wanted to see who was lingering right outside their barrier, but when he came to check in the morning, he was shocked to see how easily Lars and the others had broken in, though he expected nothing less from the hero of their prophecy. Lars did not expect to be called a hero by the elves when he had yet to do anything. Ordos explained how the Air Titan would appear only after choosing the heroes. Since the legend had been passed down for generations, Ordos believed that Lars and the others might be the heroes the legend had referred to. Lars was shocked when Ordos asked them to follow him to see their queen. A woman appeared, welcoming Ordos back. Ordos was shocked as he did not expect the princess to greet them. After learning that Ordos would be bringing the heroes of legend, she immediately made her way over and asked Ordos if the people behind him were the heroes. Ordos then asked the princess why she was outside and why she had brought only 2 guards. The princess believed that it was her duty to formally greet the kingdom's most important guests. However, Ordos prioritized the princess's safety, asking her if she had any idea how dangerous it was outside. Ordos broke down, as he could not bear to think of what might happen to the princess and feared that the Air Titan would never forgive him. After apologizing for his behavior, Ordos picked up the princess and told Lars that he would be heading back to the palace first. After being told by Ordos to take their time, Lars and the others were left speechless, as they had not expected to witness Ordos's dedication. Shale sensed that there was more to Ordos and the princess's relationship. Gossiping aside, Lars suggested that they start making their way to the palace. Upon entering the kingdom's palace, Lars and his companions were welcomed by the elves, who informed them that their queen was waiting for their visit. As Lars glanced at the elf and thanked her, he felt terrified after seeing how tall they were. The group was then greeted once again by the eldest daughter of the queen, who apologized to them for what they had witnessed earlier. Lars told the princess that it was fine and then introduced himself as well as the others. The eldest princess introduced herself as Othelia, after which she guided Lars to her mother, the queen. With the room full of elves, all eyes were on Lars's group. With gazes directed at them, Lars felt like they truly did not belong there. They were then greeted by the queen of the elf kingdom, who stated that they had waited a long time for their heroes to come. Seeing the queen up close, Lars could tell why the person in front of him was the queen, as she carried herself as though she bore the weight of a country on her shoulders. Lars immediately clarified to the queen that they were not the heroes she had been waiting for. The queen was puzzled, as she was certain that the reincarnation of the Air Titan lay on Lars's shoulder, an indication that they were the heroes of the prophecy. With QQ's presence, Lars and his party were assumed to be the heroes sent to protect the elves from danger. Lars explained that they were merely sent to the elven kingdom by the great sage, Trismegistus, to inspect the Tree of Truth. Hearing the great sage's name, all the elves began to feel displeased upon learning that the indecent old man had sent the young mages. Based on the elves' reaction, Shale guessed that Trismegistus did not have the best reputation in the kingdom. Tesla was certain that the great sage had harassed some woman. Everyone immediately stopped talking after the queen asked for silence. Hearing Trismegistus's name, which she had not heard in a long time, the queen understood her subjects' reaction, as they held bitter feelings toward the sage. The queen wondered why Trismegistus wanted the Tree of Truth to be inspected after everything he had done. Lars revealed how the outside world was currently being threatened by the secret practices of black mages, and in order to fight those mages off, Lars requested to obtain the sap of the Tree of Truth. Lars believed that the black mages were planning to undo the Calamity Seal, and all he wanted to do was put the Air Titan seal in a safe place. After hearing Lars's intentions, the queen believed that they had arrived just in time. The queen then ordered Ordos to explain their current situation to Lars. Ordos revealed to Lars that a bird-like monster had nested on top of the tree several months ago. The exact scenario was described in the legends, and it was said to be the great bird monster El Garago. Since then, monsters in the forest have gotten more violent and have started attacking people in town. Their situation turns worse with the tree no longer producing mana for the elves to use. As the elves thought of slaying the bird themselves, Lars and his party coincidentally showed up. The queen informs Lars that if he accepts the request to help them take down the bird monster, she would allow Lars to take some sap from the tree for Trismegistus. In order to obtain what was asked of them, Lars was left with no other option than to help protect the elven country. Lars admits how he had accepted the request without asking the others. Lars asks his party now if they agree to slay the bird monster. Shale hugs Lars from behind, telling him that he is the leader and that his decision is final. Tesla agrees, stating how she fully supports whatever Lars's decision is. Tsubaki pointed out that accepting the queen's request is inevitable, as it is the only thing that helps them get close to the tree. Shale mentions how she never expected QQ to be so special. Out of nowhere, an elf approached Lars's party, telling them how she smelled something vulgar. The elf mocks the group for thinking that they are worthy enough to approach their noble queen. Lars was confused as he remembered that the elf queen had called them first. The elf felt disappointed, calling their queen delusional for depending on humans to save their kingdom. Ordos interrupted the conversation, asking the elf, Laharm, if he intends to oppose their queen's decision. Laharm changed his attitude and told Ordos that what he said was merely a slip of the tongue. However, his true character appeared when Ordos informed him that Lars and his party members would become their allies in defeating the bird monster. Laharm could not accept it, stating how the bird had already defeated some of their best elf knights and believed that Lars and his party would not be of any help at all. Shale tells Laharm that, being an S-ranked mage, things would be different. However, Laharm was still not moved and believed that their elven magic was far superior to even S-ranked mages. The girls then started mocking Laharm for calling themselves superior. Unable to tolerate such nonsense, Ordos orders everyone to shut up and suggests that they test out each other's abilities in a match to show everyone what the humans are capable of. Everyone agreed to participate in order to settle the matter and establish a form of connection with the elves. Ordos also thought it was a good idea to see what Lars's party was capable of. Laharm suggests that they meet tomorrow at noon, and that the fight take place in the inner courtyard. Ordos apologizes for Laharm's behavior, stating how Laharm's behavior is unacceptable toward those acknowledged by their queen. Sensing that Ordos is hiding something from them, Lars and Tsubaki ask Ordos if he could share the secret with them. Ordos was left with no other choice but to share the truth with the humans. Ordos reveals that the current royal family is part human, which means that higher-ranking elf nobles look down on them. It is the job of the queen's allies to keep the nobles in check, and this has somehow made Ordos feel relieved that a civil war has not broken out yet. Tsubaki thought that such knowledge came at an interesting time. However, Ordos points out that the matter is far from interesting, as it has been happening for more than a century. Ordos advises the group to sleep and rest, as he will be waiting for them tomorrow before leaving. Shale found it weird, as she was certain that Ordos was human after seeing that he does not have the same ears as everyone else. Lars, on the other hand, believes that the elves would not allow a human to be their knight captain, stating another fact, that Ordos has been alive for more than 100 years, something no human can do. Tsubaki becomes more intrigued about Ordos' background, wanting to know more of his story. On the day of the fight, Lars was surprised to see so many people. The elves who were not present in the Queen's halls before were surprised to see the famous heroes of their prophecy, not expecting them to be so young. With Laharm entering the stage, he praises the humans for not running away. After giving the signal for their fight, Laharm explains how they have used their elf magic to raise a barrier around the courtyard, telling the humans that they can try any spells they want. With the fight being a 4 versus 4 battle, Laharm tells everyone that Ordos will watch over the match as their referee. Initiating the fight, the elves use their magic and launch a spell called Elemental Lance. The crowds cheer as they immediately recognize the spell as a major magic spell. Tesla steps in and uses her earth magic to block the attack. The elves are in shock after witnessing a top-ranked ability like Elemental Lance being easily blocked. Though Tesla admits that she had to take a step back, she also points out that the elves could not even cause a scratch. Laharm's colleagues are confused, as their powerful magic did nothing to their enemies. Tesla states that modern techniques are more efficient, and that relying on spirits to cast magic is considered old-fashioned, with Shale telling Laharm that the spirits do not have much power right now due to the monster bird nesting on top of the Tree of Truth. Laharm reaches his limit, no longer wanting to hear mockery coming from the humans. Pulling out a crystal, Laharm plans to summon a powerful spirit to defeat the humans. Laharm's actions alarm everyone, even Ordos, who orders Laharm to stop what he is about to do. However, it is already too late as Laharm has unleashed a spirit from the crystal. With the elves thinking that it was a spirit of a god, Tsubaki thought differently, as she guessed that it was a great fire spirit. Although the spirit Laharm unleashed was considered top class, Tesla was certain that it was still no match for their secret weapon. With the ladies staying beside Lars, they signaled the young mage to fight off the spirit. As the spirit charged right towards them, Lars was left with no other option but to face it himself. Compared to the monsters and demons he had fought before, Lars did not feel terrified by it, even managing to defeat the spirit with just one punch. Laharm was in shock after witnessing his strongest spirit be defeated so easily. Ordos was now certain that all of his doubts had been cleared up. With Laharm clearly defeated, Ordos then ordered his men to get Laharm out of the arena. Lars told Ordos how he had felt a strange magic coming from Laharm. Ordos sensed the same thing and noticed that something unusual was happening to Laharm. After announcing that Lars's party had won, Ordos further solidified their prophecy, telling everyone that the legends about their heroes were true. Just as Lars felt relieved that they were now being accepted by the elves, Ordos immediately recognized a familiar figure behind Tsubaki. Without hesitation, Ordos picked Princess Othelia up and took her back to the palace again. Tsubaki then teased Lars, telling him that if he carried her, it would deepen their relationship. Shale quickly called out Tsubaki, telling her that her weight would crush Lars. Tesla then pointed out that she was light, which meant that Lars could easily pick her up. Seeing Lars lift Tesla, the two other ladies became jealous and immediately jumped on the two. After further investigation, Ordos confirmed that what he sensed from Laharm during the fight was dark magic. The elves were puzzled, curious as to how Laharm was able to use such a type of magic. Lars asked if the feeling Ordos sensed was the same as the monster that broke through the barrier. Ordos confirmed it and believed that Laharm may have been possessed, as he had been on numerous patrols in the forest. As the matter grew more serious, Lars asked Ordos why the Air Titan didn't fight off El Garago after the barrier was broken. Shale speculated that the Air Titan must have tried and unfortunately lost. The elves did not like Shale's theory, as they believed that the Air Titan would not lose to El Garago. Even though what Shale said pained the elves, it still raised the question of why the Air Titan did not fight and where it currently was. The elves were left speechless, as they themselves did not have the answer to everyone's questions. Ordos revealed that no one had seen the Air Titan for more than 500 years. The news shocked everyone, but Shale was even more stunned that Ordos had lived long enough to have seen the Air Titan before it vanished. Tesla believed that with the Air Titan leaving the tree, El Garago had taken its place. Though the elves had no clue why the Air Titan left, they still had to deal with the problem of the bird monster feasting on the tree. Lars was surprised, as he had thought the Tree of Truth also grew fruit. Ordos corrected Lars, telling him that the tree itself was like its own fruit. The Tree of Truth was massive, and its roots ran deep underground throughout the planet. The tree absorbed nutrients from the planet and provided the elves with magical power and nourishment, making it the primary reason for the tree's existence. If things continued as they were, the elves believed that the power would soon dry up, making it impossible for them to even attempt to fight the bird monster. Ordos announced that they would be leaving tomorrow to battle the bird monster, El Garago. Ordos was certain that with everyone's help, they would surely take the monster's last breath. After hearing Ordos's encouraging words, everyone's morale increased, making them eager to face off against the bird monster. Leaving the meeting, Lars noticed something in the window at first and was shocked to see a hand popping out. When Lars approached the hand, he was even more surprised to see that it belonged to Princess Othelia. Not expecting Lars to appear in front of her, the princess accidentally let go of her grip, causing her to fall from the window. Fortunately for the princess, Lars reacted in time, catching her immediately. Curious, Lars asked the princess why she was hanging outside the window. Princess Othelia reveals that she was curious about the meeting and was certain that Ordos would simply carry her off if she went through the front door, which is why she decided to go through the window. Unable to maintain her balance, Lars had to use his upper strength to save the princess. Though Lars's action saved the princess, it also made him feel extremely hot as his face landed on her chest. Lars did not expect the princess to hold on, expressing that Lars's mana was wrapping around her differently from Ordos's. Without realizing it, Lars believed he might have inadvertently engulfed the princess with his mana. He didn't expect that the magic the sage had told him about would be used in such an indecent way. After apologizing to Lars, Princess Othelia thanked him for saving her life. Lars told the princess that it was fine, commenting that she was more casual than he had imagined. Princess Othelia explained that she usually had to be formal because there were many scary people always keeping watch over her. Lars laughed as he could see that Ordos was very strict with the princess. Princess Othelia felt displeased with the treatment she still received from Ordos, even though she was already 130 years old. She hated Ordos, as the knight always stopped her from doing what she wanted. Lars explained that the reason Ordos was so strict with the princess was that he cared for her deeply and probably saw her as a daughter. Princess Othelia agreed with Lars and wished that her true father would be someone like Ordos. However, in the time she had known Ordos, the princess had noticed that he seemed lonely recently. Since Lars was called the hero of the prophecy, Princess Othelia begged him to protect Ordos, as she wouldn't know what to do if Ordos got into trouble. Lars could tell that the relationship between Ordos and the princess was not that of a father and daughter, but more like that of siblings. Lars reassured the princess that he would protect Ordos. Taking Lars's promise, the princess hugged him once again. She then threatened Lars, warning him what would happen if he ever broke his promise. That evening, a banquet was held to welcome the arrival of Lars's party, and the group decided to let loose. With Tesla no longer having enough strength to walk, Lars carried her to a different room so they could enjoy more of the celebration. When the two finally made it into the room, Lars no longer had the strength to carry Tesla and placed her on a bed. With their heads clouded by alcohol, the two were about to spend the night together. Lars then came to his senses, immediately letting go of her hand and leaving the room. Tsubaki coincidentally opened the door and saw Lars leaving Tesla's room. This sparked Tsubaki's curiosity, leading her to believe that something had happened between Lars and Tesla. As the time had finally come for everyone to face the bird monster, El Garago, they immediately went to the foot of the Tree of Truth. Tsubaki could not believe how big the tree was, as she could tell that it was even taller than a mountain. Now up close to the tree, Tesla could feel the tree's immense age, believing it to have lived for almost an eternity. Looking up at the top of the tree, Shale comments on how climbing up the tree would not be easy for them. After asking everyone if they were all ready, Ordos announces that their goal for the day was to reach the top of the Tree of Truth. Entering the tree, both Tsubaki and Tesla immediately felt the presence of black magic inside, completely different from what they had felt outside. Lars also sensed the black magic. Recalling the feeling he had once felt when he fought Formido, the demon, Lars was certain that the black mages were doing something to the tree. Since there were 2 routes to the top of the tree, Ordos suggests that they split up and each take a different path. Ordos had no doubts that they would face monsters along the way and reminded everyone to do their best to avoid being sighted by the bird monster while going up. Splitting up into 2 parties of 5, Ordos thought of an idea and suggested that they draw sticks. While everyone was focused on drawing the sticks, Lars, on the other hand, was too preoccupied with thinking about what had happened the night before. With guilt hovering over his head, Lars thought that he should apologize to Tesla. Lars couldn't imagine what Tesla would do if she ever found out what Lars had done. With Tesla drawing an X, Lars felt sad as he was not grouped together with Tesla. Shale felt annoyed as she wanted to be grouped with Lars, but instead she got grouped with Tesla. Wanting to be a part of Tesla's group, Lars tries to persuade Shale to exchange sticks. However, Lars was already too late as Shale had accepted that she would be grouped together with Tesla, leaving it up to Tsubaki to protect Lars. After telling Shale to be careful, Tsubaki notices the sad look on Lars's face. With the 2 groups about to split up, Ordos assigned Fam as the leader of the group. Seeing how bothered Lars was, Tsubaki offered to switch places with Tesla so that the 2 could be together. Lars immediately realized that he had made others worry and told Tsubaki that it was fine. Lars explains that there was just something he wanted to talk to Tesla about and did not get the chance to do so. As Tsubaki went ahead of Lars, she turned and asked Lars if he was serious about Tesla. Lars was caught off guard and told Tsubaki that he really liked Tesla. Lars then continued to talk, telling Tsubaki that he also liked her and pretty much liked everyone equally. Before Tsubaki could tell Lars what was on her mind, Lars stopped her, telling her that he already knew that interparty relationships were not allowed. Tsubaki no longer bothered to say what was on her mind and told Lars that she supported him if Lars was truly serious about Tesla. Removing her kimono, Tsubaki asked Lars if he would still consider her his love interest, since Lars had openly mentioned that he liked everyone equally. Lars was overwhelmed and could not react to what Tsubaki was doing. He was then distracted by 2 elven knights fighting each other. Puzzled, Lars noticed a sweet scent and realized that it was coming from a plant. Upon realizing that it was something he needed to dispose of, Lars immediately shot a fireball at the plant. He then proceeded to shake Tsubaki, breaking the compulsion. When Tsubaki realized that she had undressed herself, she felt embarrassed and asked Lars what she was doing. Lars explained how everyone had fallen under the monster's spell. The scent coming from the monster stirred everyone's desires and made them act irrationally. Tsubaki, still embarrassed, asked Lars if she had done anything strange. Lars reassured Tsubaki that she had not done anything inappropriate. With the scent vanishing, the elves started to regain their senses, confused as to why they were hurting each other. After Lars explained to the elves what had happened, Tsubaki turned to Ordos and asked how he was doing. To her surprise, Ordos was sleeping soundly. Lars believed that Ordos might have simply desired rest and ended up falling asleep. With everyone finally waking up, Ordos felt ashamed as he did not know what had come over him. Ordos explained how he had suddenly felt as though he could no longer keep his eyes open. Lars reassured Ordos that no one had been hurt and suggested that they continue their journey. Agreeing with Lars, Ordos told himself that he needed to pull himself together. After exiting a narrow path, Lars was shocked to see that the next path they were taking was now outside, making the kingdom below look tiny. With the path becoming narrower, Tsubaki grew worried that they might be vulnerable to a monster attack. Sensing danger, Tsubaki pulled Lars aside and warned him to always be cautious. When Lars checked the object that had been thrown at him, he was shocked to see that it was a bird that had been consumed by dark magic. To everyone's surprise, more birds started targeting the group, injuring some of the elven knights. When Ordos looked up, he realized that they were in a dangerous situation, with so many birds heading toward them. Lars then ordered Ordos to get everyone inside before unleashing his magic spell, Dance of a Thousand Swords. Lars's attack proved to be effective, successfully eliminating all of the birds. Resting inside the tree, Ordos advised his knights to stay behind and keep themselves safe. The knights apologized to Ordos for holding them back and prayed for the others to have a safe journey the rest of the way. As Ordos gave the signal to continue forward, Lars became intrigued when he heard Ordos mention that he would finally see someone soon. Fighting monsters along their way to the top, Lars finally spotted an exit. Upon reaching the top of the tree and seeing a massive nest, Ordos suddenly asked a favor of Lars: to prioritize taking down the bird monster and to keep going no matter what happened to him. As the bird monster El Gorago finally revealed itself, Ordos informed the two to prepare themselves, as this would be his final battle. Lying on her bed, Princess Ophelia couldn't help but worry for everyone's safety. Meanwhile, Tesla still could not believe that he had a lewd dream about Lars. Shale appeared behind Tesla, surprising him. Shale advised Tesla to hide somewhere private, informing him that holding it in was not healthy. Shale thought that Tesla needed to go to the toilet, but Tesla told her that was not the case. Changing the conversation, Shale became mad at Fam for getting them lost. Fam reassured her companions that she knew the way, but somehow ended up getting lost. Fam eventually admitted her mistake and revealed that it was her first time venturing inside the Great Tree. Fam had not been allowed to enter on her last mission and had now received permission from Ordos due to their circumstances. Believing that she had failed, Fam was certain that Ordos would not trust her ever again. With Fam pretty much useless, Shale asked the other elves if they knew the way. Unfortunately for the group, it was also the elves' first time entering the tree. Although it was fate that had decided their team, Shale felt that they ended up drawing the short end of the stick. While resting, Shale empathized with Ordos for leading so many prideful elves. Fam unconsciously commented on Shale's remarks and accidentally mentioned that there were some members of the nobility who hated humans. Targeting a weakness, Shale started talking about those noble elves who disliked Ordos for being a human. With a secret revealed, an elf shared with Shale and Tesla that Ordos, who was human, had been abandoned in the forest and that the previous queen had looked after him. After Ordos was found, he then received a blessing from the Air Titan. As long as the Air Titan is alive, Ordos could never grow old or die. The news came as a surprise to Shale, who realized that Ordos had eternal life. The elf revealed that in exchange for a long life, Ordos swore to protect the royal family until his dying breath. Tesla pointed out that Ordos was only trying to repay the favor for having been saved and believed that Ordos truly loved Princess Ophelia. Fam agreed with Tesla and mentioned that Ordos acted like a doting father around the princess. Shale teased Fam, believing that she had an ulterior motive and was taking Ordos for herself. At the top of the Great Tree, Ordos and the others were now facing their target, El Gorago. Lars became worried for Ordos after hearing his last instruction. Since El Gorago emitted intense heat, getting close and landing an attack would not be easy for the trio. With water as their best tool to fight off the beast, Tsubaki asked Lars if he was up for it. Initiating the fight, Tsubaki countered the heat by using her secret technique, ice flowers. However, her skills didn't even reach El Gorago, as the ice evaporated as soon as it got close. Ordos orders Lars and Tsubaki to attack the beast with all they got, as he will distract it. Seeing Lars's worried look, Ordos reassures him that he is much better at using defensive spells rather than being on the offensive. Approaching the great beast, Ordos tries to get El Gorago's attention. While Ordos protects himself with his holy wall, Lars seeks assistance from Tsubaki, borrowing her water magic and creating a water ball. With one shot of Lars's attack, it proved to be very effective. Lars was puzzled and asked Tsubaki why she was sticking to him. Tsubaki thought that it would be easier to give her magic if she held on to Lars. Following up the attacks with a steam explosion, Tsubaki and Lars dealt serious damage to El Gorago. With El Gorago not moving, Tsubaki assumed that the beast wasn't that great of a threat. However, Ordos warns them not to let their guard down, as he could still sense the beast. What is worse is that Ordos could sense that El Gorago is stronger than before. With El Gorago reappearing, it shot out a huge blast, wiping out the objects in front of it. Back at Tesla's group, she remembered how Ordos treated them so coldly at first. With Shale agreeing with Tesla, the elves explained that with Ordos living amongst elves for so long, it was not surprising that Ordos would adapt to the elves' culture and would also hold a grudge against humans. Having done unspeakable things to their kind, the elves guessed that their weariness must have rubbed off on Ordos. Tesla becomes curious about the humans that hate elves. Faum shares that in an incident long ago, a group of dark wizards came and made everything in the forest go berserk. The incident proved to be more frightening than how the monsters were going berserk. Because of the incident, rumors had spread that the Air Titan also got infected. Tesla stops Faum and asks her when the incident occurred. When the elf mentioned that the incident happened 500 years ago, Shale connected it to the time when the Air Titan also vanished. Both Shale and Tesla had the same theory and believed that El Gorago is none other than the Air Titan. The elves laughed as they were certain that such a theory would not be possible. Since the barrier of the land of elves is very strong, Tesla was certain that a normal bird monster could not break through the barrier, which leaves the theory that the bird monster came from inside the barrier. The elves were in shock hearing Tesla's explanation, realizing that her theory may actually be true. Tesla also believed that the Air Titan separated its soul before the black magic consumed it, and thus reincarnated itself as QQ. After connecting the dots, the elves were in total disbelief that a great beast like the Air Titan would succumb to black magic. Since Ordos was on his way to defeat El Gorago, Shale believes that Ordos would pretty much take his own life. Worried for Ordos's safety, the elves suggest that they immediately inform Ordos. When the whole place starts shaking, Shale notices that the tree is shrinking and believes that Lars must be fighting El Gorago. Worried for Lars's safety, Tesla starts to make her move and plans to make their own way to the top. Shale informs the elves that Tesla and she will be heading out first and that they can follow after. The top of the tree was completely destroyed by El Gorago's blast. Lars was relieved that he had hidden inside a hole. Ordos mentions that they were very lucky that there were lots of places to hide. Planning to use himself as a distraction again, Ordos asks Lars and Tsubaki to use everything they've got to take down the beast. Worried, Lars asks Ordos what he is so worked up about, mentioning how Ordos keeps saying that it will be his last fight. Ordos reveals to Lars and Tsubaki that he is a human just like them and has lived for so long. Ordos shares with the two that he has made a contract to sync the Air Titan's lifeline with his own, which means that Ordos and the Air Titan's spirit are connected. After seeing El Gorago for the first time, Ordos knew that it was the Air Titan who had gotten corrupted with dark magic. Wanting to make sense of the situation, Lars confirms with Ordos that once El Gorago dies, Ordos would die as well. Ordos smiles, telling Lars that he has lived long enough for a human. Lars asks for Ordos to stop, stating that his sacrifice would not bring joy to his friends. Ordos is left with no other choice since El Gorago will completely destroy both the elf and human world. Tsubaki suggests to Lars using the Bag of Nothingness to seal the Air Titan away. Seeing Tsubaki's point, Lars decides not to use the bag as it proves to be more dangerous and doesn't want to face the possibility of Ordos disappearing once the Air Titan gets sealed in the bag. Lars had also thought about the elves and how they worship the Air Titan as their deity, and that sealing the Titan away may result in more problems. Lars is able to come up with a new idea and suggests to Tsubaki that they shoot holy magic onto the Air Titan and try purifying the beast. Not wanting anyone to die, Lars wishes to purify El Gorago and turn it back into the Air Titan. Ordos found the idea ridiculous and pointed out to Lars that the dark magic they are dealing with is so strong that it was able to corrupt the Air Titan. Lars still wishes to try purifying the Air Titan. Knowing what Lars is capable of, Tsubaki gives her support and suggests to Ordos that they give Lars's idea a shot. Jumping out of the hole, Lars gathers all of his magic and casts a holy magic spell to purify El Gorago. With El Gorago getting hit by a powerful holy magic, it appears that Lars's plan is working. However, the dark magic that has corrupted the Air Titan travels through the holy magic and tries to engulf Lars. Meanwhile, Tesla and Shale are now using their powers to create a path to the top. With all the rubble and dust blocking their way, Shale advises Tesla to slow down as she is being too reckless. Tesla couldn't wait to see Lars, as she felt that something bad was happening to him. Lars is still releasing his holy magic onto El Gorago. Though it was a first for Lars to use so much magic at once, he didn't have the courtesy to stop as it may also hinder his chance of stopping El Gorago completely. Seeing Lars in a difficult situation, Ordos orders him to pull back as he may end up destroying himself before purifying the Air Titan. Wanting to keep his promise to the princess, Lars didn't want to let go of his chance. Ordos tells Lars that he didn't have to go so far for him and asks what promise he made to the princess. Ordos was shocked to learn that Lars gave his word to Athelia, and thus told Lars that it is not enough of a reason for Lars to risk his life. With Lars's power getting weaker, he has started to feel that something is crawling around his body. Seeing El Gorago charging up and releasing another deadly blast, Ordos channeled his energy and summoned his holy wall to protect Lars. With El Gorago's blast so powerful, Ordos informs Lars that he will not be able to hold the blast for long. Lars wanted to help Ordos with the barrier, but he also couldn't leave his position. Tsubaki wanted to offer some help, but Lars refused, worried that Tsubaki may also get consumed. Seeing no other solution, Lars wanted to apologize to the princess as he slowly lost consciousness. With El Gorago stopping its attack, Tsubaki tries to approach Lars. However, Lars blows Tsubaki away instead, ripping her clothes off. Shocked, Tsubaki looked at Lars and saw how Lars had changed his expression. Tsubaki wonders if she was really facing the real Lars. When Tesla and Shale finally reached the top of the great tree, they immediately saw Tsubaki and asked what had happened to her. Tsubaki explains to the two what Lars did and believes that Lars may have gotten corrupted from trying to purify the Air Titan. With Lars getting corrupted by the dark magic, Tesla orders Shale and Tsubaki to help Ordos. Approaching Lars, Tesla tries to make a connection and is shocked to see Lars's pained expression. Out of nowhere, Lars releases a blast that Tsubaki recognizes as dark magic. After being blown away, Tesla immediately charges toward Lars, trying to wake him up. With tears in her eyes, Tesla wished for Lars to return. To Tesla's surprise, Lars grabs her hair and suddenly kisses her. Both Tsubaki and Shale are shocked as they witness how the corrupted Lars rips Tesla's clothes off. While Lars's body is acting beyond his control, his mind is trapped somewhere else, feeling like he is sinking into a small dark swamp. Seeing Tesla being harmed, Lars pleads for it to stop, but then realizes that what he is feeling is what the Air Titan endured for over 500 years. Tsubaki and Shale were in total disbelief that Lars had been completely consumed by the dark magic. Angered by how Lars is treating her, Tesla decides to teach him a lesson. Not expecting Tesla to retaliate, Lars ends up getting blown away by Tesla's magic. Tsubaki suggests to Shale that they use their magic to try and remove the dark magic from Lars. The two then assist Tesla in pinning Lars down. With all their magic combined, the three try to reach Lars and bring him back. Overwhelmed by the surge of magic, the corrupted Lars becomes enraged and releases his dark magic again to push the women away. Summoning black tendrils, the corrupted Lars subdues the three and begins tearing at their clothing. Both Shale and Tesla's faces are painted with horror as Lars pins Tsubaki down and appears ready to harm her. Shale begs Lars to stop, but her words can no longer reach her friend. Suddenly, QQ appears and scratches Lars's face. Annoyed, the corrupted Lars throws QQ aside. All of a sudden, QQ emits a blinding light that leaves the corrupted Lars temporarily stunned. Lars's mind, still adrift in an empty space, sees QQ and is deeply saddened by the creature's sorrowful expression. Lars knows that QQ is trying to say something but cannot understand him. When QQ pecks Lars on the head, something dawns on him and grants him the strength to reclaim control of his body. Before Lars can cause further harm, the dark magic that had corrupted him begins to seep away from his body. Regaining control, Lars recalls what happened inside his mind and begins to cry as he realizes that QQ sacrificed its life to bring him back. Seeing a chance to help, Shale approaches Tsubaki and gives her a coat. Tsubaki, confused, asks Shale what had happened. Shale explains that she saw QQ appear and suddenly begin to glow brightly. With tears in his eyes, Lars hears a voice coming from El Gorago and assumes it to be the Air Titan's voice. The Air Titan explains that most of the dark magic had transferred into Lars and that only a small portion remains within the beast. The Air Titan urges Lars to finish the fight with everything he has and asks him not to let QQ's sacrifice go to waste. Wiping away his tears, Lars clenches his fist and charges at the Air Titan. The three, placing their faith in Lars, watch him face the Titan alone. With one powerful strike from Lars, the Air Titan falls and is finally defeated. Tesla runs to Lars and hugs him. Tsubaki asks Lars if he is alright now and if he knows where QQ went. Lars remains silent for a moment before revealing that QQ sacrificed itself to bring him back. Crying uncontrollably, Lars apologizes to everyone. To everyone's surprise, the Air Titan suddenly resurfaces. The Air Titan thanked Lars for saving it. Lars and the others had their mouths open in shock upon seeing the Air Titan's true form. After reducing its size, the Air Titan introduces itself as Asel, and shares that he is the one who presides over the heavens. Despite having such a prestigious title, Asel felt awful for completely overlooking the Black Mage's misdeeds, which ended up causing him to be corrupted. After getting corrupted, Asel became a terrible burden to both humans and elves and asks for Lars's forgiveness. Asel informs Lars to have Ordos explain what Lars did, as Asel was certain that Lars would receive a reward. Seeing the unconscious Ordos, Lars wonders if he will be fine. Sensing the mana flow of the Great Tree returning, Asel reassures Lars that Ordos will be fine, as he was just sleeping. When Asel mentioned QQ, Lars's eyes were immediately filled with sadness as he explained to Asel how QQ sacrificed itself to bring him back. Asel comforts Lars, knowing that his familiar was well taken care of by Lars. Touched by Lars's sacrifice, Asel decides to entrust QQ to him once again. With everyone shocked to see QQ again, Lars hugs his friend, relieved and happy that they get to meet again. As Lars thanks Asel for returning QQ, he notices that the bird is somewhat glowing. Asel explains that QQ is a reincarnation of part of his soul. In normal circumstances, QQ would have started as an egg again, but Asel didn't want to burden Lars and decided to return QQ in his previous state. What concerned Asel is that in QQ's current state, the young bird wouldn't be able to control its own mana output. To resolve that problem, Asel transforms QQ into a human and informs Lars that QQ would have to stay as a human for 3 days. Following the battle at the Tree of Truth, Ordos knelt in front of the Air Titan along with the other elves. With everything returning to normal, Lars and the others spent half a day returning to the castle. Ordos then reported to the Queen everything that had happened, and Lars filled in the parts when Ordos was unconscious. The news gave relief and joy to the kingdom, knowing that their deity had returned. What concerns Lars now is that his familiar QQ, who had turned into a human, had to stay in that form since it didn't have a magic stone. Lars tried calling out for QQ and was pleased as it responded the same as before. What surprised Lars was that QQ now hugs with a human body. Wondering if it's okay to feed QQ some of his mana, Lars tries it out and is accidentally seen by Tesla. Seeing the two getting close, Tesla couldn't help but feel jealous. Lars finally notices Tesla hiding behind the door and asks her what was wrong. Tesla offers to take care of QQ's needs for the time being, as she was worried that someone may misunderstand Lars's actions. Lars had the same thoughts as Tesla but explains that QQ is male. However, Tesla pointed out that QQ is currently in a female body and would certainly make others confused. Taking QQ away, Tesla was shocked when QQ suddenly jumped on her and started kissing her cheeks. Lars remembers that QQ used to like sitting on Tesla's head when it was still a bird. Looking at Tesla and QQ getting chummy together, Lars finally understood what Tesla is implying despite knowing and telling Tesla that QQ is a male. Lars pulls QQ away, stating that QQ will stay by his side. The two ended up arguing as to who would take care of QQ. Ordos and the other elves properly thanked Lars for everything that he had done. Ordos also acknowledged QQ's sacrifice and thus congratulated it for its reincarnation. Glad that everything had been resolved, Lars also asked for Ordos to give his thanks to the Queen, as they also received a large reward. With each member of the party receiving rare and valuable rewards, Lars starts to wonder if it is alright for them to take such items. Princess Ophelia responded to Lars that the items they received do not come close to them being repaid, and she would not even hesitate to give herself to Lars and still believes that it wouldn't be enough. The princess's actions shocked the three ladies. However, Ophelia was more surprised when Lars stopped her and kissed her hand instead. Lars informs Ophelia that the person behind her is someone that is befitting for a queen and wishes for the two to have a wonderful life. Ophelia sheds a tear and thanks Lars for keeping his promise. Lars and his party then bid farewell to Ordos and Ophelia and the entire Elven Kingdom. After saying their goodbyes, Shale couldn't forget Lars's scary expression when he turned evil and was very grateful to QQ for saving them. However, Lars did not have a clue nor memories of what his body did when he got corrupted. Tsubaki teases Lars, finding it fun seeing Lars acting like a bad boy. Being teased by Tsubaki, Lars asks if he was that bad, to which Tesla responds that he acted like a pig. The group continued their conversation while QQ continued to listen even though she does not understand what the conversation is about. Shale and Tesla approach Tsubaki asking her if she wanted to go with them to Valeska. When Tsubaki refuses, Shale asks her if she is worried about Valeska's reputation as a pleasure town. Tsubaki responded that the town's reputation had nothing to do with her decision. Tsubaki reveals to the two that after she left her home for training purposes, the first place Tsubaki arrived at was the town of Valeska. Tsubaki was young and naive then and did not know a thing or two about the world. In the town, Tsubaki got into a drinking contest with some of the local men and ended up becoming penniless with only her sword and the clothes on her back. To make the long story short, Tsubaki didn't have very good memories of Valeska. With no place to go, Tsubaki fortunately met a kind woman from a brothel who helped her out. Though the woman tried to recruit Tsubaki into joining the shop, she flatly refused. Visiting Lars's room, Shale asks Lars if it was fine if they enter. However, Lars explains that he was about to meet with Bonnard and may not have enough time to interact with them. Lars explains that Bonnard wanted to talk about doing some refurbishment to their home and told the two that he will be back and that they can wait inside. Sitting on the couch, Tesla notices how Lars had so much stuff now. Thinking that Lars may have hidden some dirty magazines, Shale starts looking at Lars's things. As the two decided to go to Valeska, it dawned on Shale that Lars may also be looking into what shops are available. Following Shale's actions, Tesla started touching Lars's things and gasped when she found something. Shale immediately asks Tesla if she had found something interesting. Finding a rope, Shale immediately thought of something lewd. When Lars finally returned, he did not expect for Shale to use the rope to tie Tesla's whole body. Visiting the Mage Guild's main branch, Tesla was informed by the secretary that the guildmaster was away on a business trip. Not being able to meet the guildmaster, Tesla left a message for the guildmaster, informing them that she would head out and investigate the Sea Titan. Taking Tesla's message, the woman asked her if she had seen Lars, as she planned to inform Lars that he had been promoted to A rank. The woman excitedly shared that Lars was the fastest mage to become an A rank in the history of the guild. A member of the guild interrupted the conversation and told the woman that an intruder had appeared. Upon hearing that there was an intruder, Tesla asked for the location and immediately went out. An elf wearing black clothing apologized for barging in and reassured everyone that she was not a suspicious person. The guards, who were still cautious of the woman, asked her how she entered the guild. Admitting her mistake for not updating her member's card, the woman drew a card from her chest and told the guards that the card had expired and that she had never renewed it. As the woman explained how she got through the wards, she unconsciously broke the sword, which surprised the guards. Thinking that the woman was some kind of legendary mage, the woman suddenly hugged the guard as she found them adorable. When Tesla finally arrived, the woman was pleased to see Tesla, interacting with her like they'd known each other for so long. The guard then approached Tesla, asking her if the woman was a friend of hers, and also shared that the woman had an extremely old guild member card. Tesla responded that she had never seen the woman before. Sitting on a sofa, the woman asked the guards to call for Trismegistus or the guildmaster. The woman reminded Tesla to always wear a dress with the intention to impress. Hearing those words, Tesla was reminded of the old shopkeeper, Rodri. When Tesla asked the woman if she was really the old Rodri, Rodri laughed and asked if she surprised her. Rodri explained that she had been disguising herself as an old woman. Rodri was certain that if Trismegistus saw her now, he would be head over heels. Unfortunately for Rodri, her visit proved to be fruitless since Trismegistus was out meeting with the sages and the guildmaster was also away on a business trip. Though disappointed, Rodri accepted that she wouldn't be meeting the sage nor the guildmaster. Rodri mentioned in the news that Tesla and her party would be looking for the Sea Titan. Tesla confirmed the news, explaining to Rodri that they were trying to prevent the Black Mages from doing more harm to the Titans. Since Lars managed to protect the seals of both the air and land Titans, the only Titan left for them to investigate and possibly help was the Sea Titan. Rodri reveals to Tesla the purpose of her visit, which is to stop them from going, especially Tesla. Rodri informs Tesla that although she has no clue if the Titans have anything resembling the concept of gender, she is certain that the Sea Titan is an eel. Shocked, Tesla asks Rodri if she had actually seen the Sea Titan before. Rodri confirms that she did, a long time ago. And what worries Rodri is that the Sea Titan despises young women the most. Though worried about Tesla, Rodri also points out that sending Lars by himself is impossible. Tesla agrees, as Lars is too important to the party to be placed in so much danger. Rodri was amused seeing Tesla all worried. Rodri informs Tesla that though the Sea Titan despises women, it doesn't necessarily mean that it would be any nicer to Lars. Rodri suddenly hugs Tesla, telling her that she won't be able to bear it if she ever loses Tesla. What worries Rodri more is that there's no one left to pass on the ancient spirit magic. After gaining all her abilities and knowledge from her teacher 1,000 years ago, Rodri has decided to pass it on to Tesla. Taking Tesla with her, Rodri jumps off the Mage Guild. Rodri asks Tesla if she wanted to stay young and beautiful like her. After transforming back to an old lady, Rodri informs Tesla before leaving that she will be waiting for her. The group prepares themselves for departing to their next mission. Both Shale and Tsubaki were astonished when they saw a real unicorn that was brought by Sistina. Shale asks Lars if he was ready for his first job as an A rank. Brimming with confidence, Lars responds that he is becoming an A rank. Lars does not really see the difference from what he has been doing and that the only thing that was added was more responsibility. Tsubaki notices Tesla is not focused and asks her if there's a problem. Tesla reassures Tsubaki that she is fine, although it does not portray on her face. Using Sistina's unicorn, the group began their journey and were able to reach their destination in only 5 days. Arriving at the port city of Valeska, the group searches for an inn to stay and was shocked to learn that the inn is fully booked. The innkeepers explained to Lars and the others that some unavoidable circumstances had occurred, rendering the ships at the port unable to set sail. With the ships not sailing, several merchants ended up getting stuck within the town's borders and thus occupied the inn's rooms. The innkeeper was certain that all the inns in town were occupied. Shale cries as she badly wants to go to sleep and has already visited the 5th inn. In great desperation, Shale believes that Sistina's influence can help them secure a room. However, Sistina did not like the idea, wanting to not reveal her true identity to avoid trouble. While the others think of other ways to get a room, Tsubaki approaches the innkeeper, bribing him for any available room. Swayed by money, the innkeeper reveals that their chain hotels still have some rooms. Tsubaki shares the exciting news with everyone, and thus they went and visited the hotel. Recognizing the establishment as a place where couples go, Sistina starts imagining Lars and her getting intimate. Not realizing that she was speaking her thoughts out loud, Sistina becomes embarrassed after seeing everyone's embarrassed look. Seeing the room, the group were very pleased as they were able to secure a normal room with a huge bed. When the group finally took a rest, they were suddenly interrupted by the noise from the other lodgers. Unable to concentrate, Lars decides to interrupt the people in the room, planning to politely keep the tension down. Lars knocks on the door and was surprised when he heard a cry for help. Worried for the woman inside, Lars decides to forcibly open the door. Seeing a woman beaten and tied up, Lars took a stand and beat up the man. After calling the authorities and having the man captured, the beaten woman then received treatment from Tsubaki. With the ladies getting riled up from what had happened, the beaten woman looks at Lars and introduces herself as Rumia. Rumia asked for Lars to visit the shop where she works, wanting to repay the favor. The group were welcomed to the Fiore brother where Rumia works. Knowing the businesses that happen in the brothel, Shale asks Rumia how old she was. To clear up the confusion, Rumia reveals that her duties mainly involve looking after the senior ladies and doing manual labor, and pointed out that she has not yet taken on clients. Rumia asks for Lars and the others to wait as she will inform the owner of the incident. The owner of Fiore Brothel welcomed Lars and the others, introducing herself as Melilla. Upon learning that Lars had beat up a man from the Merchant Association, Melilla shared how joyous she was. As Lars introduces himself and his companions, Melilla notices a familiar face and recognizes her as the daughter of Duke Balado. Melilla offered a room for the group to stay in and informed Lars that he is welcome to spend a night with anyone that would interest him. Having no experience in entering a brothel house, Lars informs Melilla that he will keep her offer in mind. Surprised that her offer had been turned down, Melilla reveals that their room would normally cost 10 million ruts, but Lars's group will not be charged. Although Lars did not spend a single penny on the room, he still felt like he had already used so much money after hearing the room's original price. The girls try to dissuade Lars, not wanting for him to become a regular in the brothel. Realizing the group's true dynamic, Melilla laughs as she assumes that Lars's party was Lars's harem. Melilla then gave the girls advice for them to be able to get intimate with Lars. Lars was shocked when Melilla suggested that the girls work at her shop and to have Lars ask for their services. With Melilla stating that both Tsubaki and Tesla have the capabilities of becoming the brothel's ace, Shale was surprised and asked why she wasn't chosen. Melilla explains to Shale she will need more time to grow experience and become more adult-like. When Sistina asks why she also wasn't chosen, Melilla responded that the thought of Sistina working in the brothel was enough for her head to be cut off. Not expecting for her true identity to have already been known, Sistina had her suspicions and asked if her father was a customer. Sistina confirms her theory as Melilla revealed that the Duke is one of their VIPs. Sestina felt lightheaded after learning that her father would visit a brothel. Continuing their conversation, Lars and the others share with Melilla that they were also stuck the same as the other merchants who could not set sail. Melilla reveals that a monster had been wreaking havoc in the nearby waters, calling itself the Lord of the Sea. Before Lars and his group arrived at Valeska, the monster ordered the townspeople to offer a young girl as a sacrifice. The town's current situation was not very pleasing to Melilla, giving her a new type of headache. Lars then proposed an idea and offered that they take care of the Lord of the Sea. Reassured, Melilla informs Lars that if they succeed, she will grant him any wish he wants. With Lars getting excited, the girl then reminds Lars that a night in Melilla's establishment is not on the table. Lars reassures the girls that he will not request to spend the night, but instead asks for a sturdy boat to defeat the Lord of the Sea. Melilla agrees and promises to find a boat for Lars. The conversation was interrupted when one of Melilla's girls informed her that a representative of the Roto Association had visited them. Melilla made it clear that she is currently entertaining VIP guests, but the young lady informs Melilla that the representative wishes to discuss an urgent matter. A member of the Roto merchant named Fado entered the room, disrupting Melilla and Lars's group. Fado felt offended when Melilla told him that he is not allowed to barge in so rudely. Fado made it clear that he has enough money to enter the brothel and would gladly even pay up front. However, Melilla refuses, as she does not want the value of her girls to decrease because of their presence. Fado asks Melilla if she had already made up her mind on which girl she would like to offer. Threatening to pick a girl himself, Melilla could no longer stand idly and suggests to Fado that he can get their sacrifice in his place. Fado would gladly sacrifice any of his men. However, he didn't have a beautiful girl to sacrifice. With Melilla having all the beautiful girls on her side, Fado reminds Melilla that as a person who holds a high position in the town, they are obligated to provide one when necessary. Melilla knew that Fado was lying, as she already had reliable information that Fado had been running shady brothels and that some of those girls had enough of Fado's ruling. A drunk Tesla decides to interrupt and asks for Lars to hold her coat. Tesla surprises everyone by offering herself as a sacrifice. Since Tesla is not from Valeska, she believes that there was no need for the two to quarrel further. Melilla tries to voice out her concern, but Fado was quick enough to check Tesla out and believes that Tesla was enough to become a sacrifice. Fado suggests to Tesla that she prepare herself as he plans to pick her up later. Sitting on the couch, Tesla wonders what she will do if she comes face to face with the Lord of the Sea. Going into the middle of the sea to deal with the Beast Lord, Lars and the others sneak their way out. Planning to look for Tesla first, Lars gave the orders and decided to split up to speed up the search. Meanwhile, an unconscious Tesla was about to be taken advantage of by Fado. Thinking himself to be very lucky for being able to bed Tesla, Fado starts to get excited and takes his clothes off in an instant. Touching Tesla's body, Fado felt apologetic to his master as he could no longer control his lust. Hearing Fado speak, Tesla woke up and asked Fado who his master is. Surprised to see Tesla awake, Fado didn't have the time to react as he was getting choked by Tesla's legs. Assuming that Fado has some connection with the Lord of the Sea, Tesla lifts her whole body up and slams Fado. Seeing a drool left by Fado on her, Tesla felt disgusted. When Lars finally found Tesla, he asked her why she suddenly decided to sacrifice herself without consulting everything. Tesla feels threatened and believes that it will be dangerous for Lars if they stay in the town any longer. Expressing her frustrations, Tesla suggests to Lars that they can have fun together and don't need to involve other women. The waves started to get dangerous, rocking the boat heavily. A huge monster appeared in front of Lars and Tesla, curious as to who had stepped foot in his domain. Tesla asks for the Lord of the Sea to calm down, informing the beast that she is the sacrifice that it had asked for. Sensing a lot of magic from Tesla, the beast accurately guessed that Tesla's a mage. The Lord of the Sea loves mages and asks where Fado is at, as it couldn't wait to give Fado some words of praise. Tesla angers the Lord of the Sea as she revealed that she had no plans of being sacrificed. As the beast was about to swallow Tesla, she was fortunately saved by Lars. With his arm wrapped by the beast's tongue, Lars jumps towards the Lord of the Sea and lands a punch. Feeling Lars's punch, the Lord of the Sea calms itself down, as it believes that it has the advantage. With the help of Shale's water-repellent magic, Lars was amazed to see himself walking on water. Throwing a huge wave, Lars proved to the Lord of the Sea that its attacks are pointless. Getting himself close, Lars slaps an item on the Lord of the Sea, subduing it completely. With the beast floating on the sea, it apologized to Lars for being selfish and declared its surrender. The rest of the group captured the remaining underlings of Fado and has also tied the Lord of the Sea to the back of the ship. Shale approaches Tesla, voicing out her dislike of Tesla's one-sided decision. With Tesla apologizing for her mistake, Shale mentions that even if Tesla didn't offer herself as a sacrifice, they would still have taken the monster-slaying request. Upon returning to the port, Melilla asks Lars what happened to the Lord of the Sea, and if they brought it all the way to the port. Lars reveals that they did bring the Lord of the Sea with them. However, upon reaching the port, the beast was already dehydrated and thus moved on to a better place. Lars also informed Melilla that they've captured Fado and his men and revealed Fado's connection with the Lord of the Sea. Finally able to clean themselves with warm water, the ladies start to enjoy and relax. Tesla splashes water on Tsubaki, and was surprised when she did not react. Taking a closer look, they were shocked to see Tsubaki looked like her spirit had left her body. Meanwhile, Lars further explained to Melilla the method that Tesla used in order to make Fado spill the secret. Lars informs Melilla that Fado's main goal was to ultimately overthrow Melilla by making the people lose trust in her. Upon realizing that she was just dancing in the palm of Fado's hand, Melilla apologizes to Lars for causing him trouble. After telling Melilla that the problem was not a big deal, Lars then asks if they now can have the ship that Melilla promised. Melilla informs Lars that she will be handing over her luxury ship, which was once owned by a noble. Approaching Lars, Melilla asks him if the ship would truly be enough, not hesitating to offer herself to Lars for the things he has done. Lars felt honored but politely declined and explained to Melilla that he already had a woman in mind to be his first. While wandering around town, the ladies become more curious as to what is weighing Tsubaki down. Tesla had enough and revealed that Tsubaki just didn't want to return to her hometown. Before Tsubaki could explain, a young woman called her name and approached her. Recognizing the woman, Tsubaki states that the woman is as loud as ever. Upon learning that Tsubaki has traveled to the town of Valeska, the woman assumes that Tsubaki has finally decided to return home. The woman, whose name is Kaede, immediately looked around as she believes that Tsubaki has finally found herself a groom. When the others asked for an explanation, Tsubaki revealed that she made a promise with her father that she will be with a groom the next time she returns home. Half a month ago, Tsubaki accidentally met Kaede in the port of Valeska, thus revealing her secret to everyone. Tesla wonders if they can just not stop at Tsubaki's hometown. However, Tsubaki stated that they must pass by her hometown since their lord has knowledge of where the Sea Titan can be found. In order for the group to have a chance to talk to the ruler of Tsubaki's hometown, Tsubaki would first have to speak to her father and ask for permission. When Lars finally returned and asked what the girls were doing, Tsubaki immediately covered Kaede's mouth to stop her from revealing her secret to Lars. However, Tsubaki's action proved to be pointless as Kaede escaped easily and approached Lars. After introducing herself as Tsubaki's attendant, Kaede bids farewell right away, as she believes that she already has enough to report to Tsubaki's father. Tsubaki tried to stop Kaede but was not fast enough, as Kaede had already vanished after bidding farewell. The group informs Lars that Tsubaki's attendant, Kaede, had assumed Lars to be Tsubaki's groom. Shale suggests that they search for Kaede and stop her. Tsubaki advises Shale and the others that searching for Kaede is pointless, as she is a shinobi who is trained to hide oneself to the fullest. Lars thought of explaining the misunderstanding to Tsubaki's father, but Tsubaki believes that explaining may no longer be possible as she is certain that her father already knows of Lars and would possibly unleash his anger towards Lars. Knowing the kind of person her father is, Tsubaki was also certain that both Lars and she will be slain. With Tsubaki also gaining experience and becoming stronger, Lars believes that Tsubaki is strong enough to deal with her father. However, Tsubaki reveals that she is still levels away from her father in terms of swordsmanship. Lars becomes nervous, wondering if his time was about to end. While Tsubaki felt apologetic for involving Lars in her mess, Tesla had a different thought, believing that everything was orchestrated by Tsubaki to have Lars. Exchanging goodbyes, Sistina requests for Lars to bring her along. However, Lars did not want to make the Duke worry and thus decided to leave Sistina at Valeska. Shale teases Sistina, hoping that she could relay a message to the Duke to give up on making Lars his son-in-law. Sistina refuses and tells Shale to relay that message to Tsubaki's father. One of the crew informs Lars that the ship was now ready, and thus the group set sail to the Eastern Sea. Looking over the ocean, Lars notices Tsubaki's worries and expression and decides to approach her. Tsubaki once again apologizes to Lars, as she is certain that her relatives have already heard the news that she has found a groom. Lars comes up with a plan and decides to accept the role of Tsubaki's groom. However, in Lars's story, both he and Tsubaki postponed their marriage due to them still pursuing becoming stronger. After dealing with the Sea Titan, Lars plans to disappear and instructs Tsubaki to tell her family that Lars didn't want to commit to the marriage and decided to run away. After relaying his plan to the others, Lars immediately faced an objection from Tesla. Lars explains to Tesla that the act will only apply during their stay in Tsubaki's country. Both Tesla and Shale didn't like the idea, as Shale is worried that it may become a thing afterwards. Since the others were hesitant with Lars's plan, he informs the two that he would grant each of their requests. With the conditions set, Lars gained the approval of Shale and Tesla. However, Lars somehow felt that he may have messed up. After traveling for 2 weeks, the ship finally arrived at Tsubaki's hometown, Akatsushima. Upon the group's arrival, they underwent a thorough inspection. Thankfully for Lars and the others, their title as mages helped out with the inspection. Roaming the streets of Akatsushima, Shale expressed the feeling that she is actually in a foreign country. Kaede suddenly shows up, welcoming everyone to Akatsushima. Kaede immediately approached Lars, informing him that Tsubaki's father eagerly awaits him. Arriving at Tsubaki's home, everyone was surprised at how huge the gate is and believed that there's a huge mansion inside. Tsubaki was shocked upon hearing her father's voice and seeing him standing on the roof. Jumping in front of Tsubaki, her father expressed his relief upon learning that Tsubaki is well. Before Tsubaki could strike a conversation with her father, Her father's attention was already directed towards Lars and the others. After Lars introduced himself, Tsubaki's father did not show a smile and offered his place for the group to rest. Tsubaki asks for her father's help in arranging a meeting between them and the emperor. However, Tsubaki's father insists that they first take a rest and everything else will happen after. With the group being guided by Kaede to their rooms, Tesla becomes irritated after being told that the room was prepared for Lars's attendance. Upon learning that they will be using a separate room from the others, both Lars and Tsubaki couldn't help but feel embarrassed after being told by Kaede to enjoy themselves. After wearing their yukata, Tsubaki expresses her worry towards her father for not acting as she had expected. With the two pretending to be intimate, Tsubaki's father hears the noise and decides not to interrupt the supposed couple. In reality, the noises that Tsubaki's father heard were from Tsubaki receiving a foot massage from Lars. Having a hard time going to sleep, Tesla gets up, wondering if Tsubaki and Lars are sleeping in the same futon. When morning came, Tsubaki was greeted by Shale and a half-awake Tesla. Tsubaki also didn't get a good sleep as her father kept passing by, which meant she and Lars had to continue their act. Though Tsubaki reassures the two that both Lars and she were just acting, Tesla was still very anxious and having a hard time believing Tsubaki. However, Tesla immediately changed her mind and apologized to Tsubaki after Tsubaki reminded Tesla of her situation and that she would never betray anyone. With everyone awake, Tsubaki informs her father of their real purpose, which was to go to the Sea Titan as soon as possible. Tsubaki, who was certain that the Emperor knows the Titan's location, asks her father to set up a meeting. However, Tsubaki's father refused her request. Tsubaki's father shared with the group that the Emperor has since changed into someone unrecognizable and believes that the Emperor would most likely reject any request for an audience. The Emperor, who had always agonized over not being able to produce an heir, received news that his wife suddenly conceived a child. Rumors spread that it was all due to the magic of a person named Tenku. What surprised Tsubaki and the others is that Tenku also refers to himself as a black mage. Tenku has expanded his influence to the point that nobody in the Imperial Castle can oppose Tenku's faction. As the representative of the few remaining elders, Tsubaki's father has raised the concern to the Emperor. However, upon sharing the concern, he ended up being placed under house arrest. Tsubaki could not believe that the Black Mage's influence had reached even her hometown. Wanting to meet the Sea Titan as well, Tsubaki's father hinted that there are other ways to learn of its residents. Tsubaki was asked if she is willing to challenge the trial of the hidden technique, the water mirror domain. Taking a bath, Tsubaki couldn't help but think of what her father said regarding the technique being mastered, and thus be rewarded with wealth and a sea chart that describes the Sea Titan's residences. Amongst the people of Tsubaki's residence, the water mirror domain has only been acquired by a few users of the house's dragon god style. Wondering if she can pass the trial, Kaede appears and interrupts Tsubaki's piece. Scrubbing Tsubaki's back, Kaede mentions that it has been a while since she last helped her master clear her body. Tsubaki was shocked when Kaede revealed that she may have rushed to make a conclusion back then. Kaede shares how she met the household head earlier in the morning and believes that both Tsubaki and Lars are not in an intimate relationship. Upon hearing that her father saw through their act, Tsubaki felt overjoyed and hugged Kaede. Meanwhile, a man also heard that mages have entered the country of Akatsushima and finds the turn of events amusing.